UGA, game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Right. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Yep. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense, hunker down for the tie. Hey, hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We doing a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape, the tape.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous starting off already.
That's great.
We love
fantastic.
That. We love to see that. Love to see that, don't we, Lee? We love to see that.
Man.
Good God, man.
Can't get right with this technology.
We said we were going to fire her last night.
Streamlabs didn't get the memo that it's last show, best show.
Streamlabs 100%. You know what? Right. This is for me saying I was going to fire him last night, and we didn't fire him. So midweek this weekend, we're firing him for sure. Welcome in. We got a great show for you guys, as we say around here, as the chat has already hit on. Last show, best show. We are in hours 9 and 10 of live broadcast television right here on this network, and it's been a tremendous time to be here, man. We have had a lot of growth over the last month, tracking at about 3,500 brand new subscribers in the last 28 days. It's by far the highest metric I've ever seen on this network, so super grateful for that right there. And just over the last several days, we've been skyrocketing it up. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. And if you're new tonight, welcome in. I'm glad to have you. I'm not going to ask you to subscribe right now. I ask you to give us the chance. All right, give us a chance to get into this loaded show for you guys tonight. As we say, last one, best one. What a weekend of college football. I always like to hype you guys up going into this one, as if you need it, you football fiends. But we got a great one this weekend, man. A tremendous slate. We got Heupel's return to Norman, a top 15 matchup in that one between Oklahoma and Tennessee. We got Friday Night Lights between two top 25 absolute powerhouse football programs in Illinois and Nebraska. Can't wait for that one tomorrow night. We got USC's first taste of the Big Ten. They're going to go up there to Michigan, play in that big house up there in Ann Arbor. We got Utah and Oklahoma State in the first real deciding and impactful game in the Big 12 in a conference that we don't really know a ton about. We've got Arch Manning's starting debut this weekend. It's a tremendous time and a tremendous weekend of college football. Can't wait to get after it tonight in tonight's show. Last opportunity to get your final thoughts in, boys, before the week 4 slate kicks off. Welcome in. We got a great one for you tonight. We're going to take a peek. I love to take a peek on Thursday. We're going to let you know where we're taking a peek. What are our side ventures? What are our side quests this week with regards to college football? Metallica coming to Virginia Tech. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's going to spurn. I think it's really just our opportunity to spurn a top 5 list out of our man Kirby there tonight. So that's going to be awesome. Unless it doesn't happen, makes its delightful return to tonight's show sheet. Does Florida really have the toughest schedule in the SEC? We're going to talk about that tonight. It's been heavily talked about and kind of anointed as maybe the hardest schedule in the history of college football. Yeah. Some people have talked about it at that point. So the idea that we might have someone pushing for contention there is pretty impressive as well. Next contender to stumble, we're going to put somebody on alert tonight. Top 5 programs in the shitter. We're going to take this conversation a multitude of ways tonight. Excited to get there. And there's a key stat in this Oklahoma and Tennessee football game that my boy Dr. J. Will is delivering tonight. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. Look, man, Better is now offering college football player props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can now play in 23 states, including the fine state of Georgia. Better is matching. Check this out. First-time deposits up to $250 if you use the promo code Brooks, or it's right there for you. Just click the link in the description of this video and get after it. I'm 3-0 on Better through the first 3 weeks of college football. We're pushing for 4-0 tonight. We're going to start the local hour with that absolutely slam home locksmith of a lock to start the local hour. Super glad to be here with you guys tonight. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Guys, massive football game out in Norman. Welcome to the SEC, Oklahoma. Your first opportunity, top 10 opponent coming into your house. Oh, by the way, very familiar face on the other sideline, Josh Heupel. Boys, where do we want to start? I know, Jay Will, you've got an interesting stat for us in this ball game. I think we should start there, man. You put a lot of work into this one, so let's hammer it out.
Yeah, I kind of got to thinking about home and away splits because I remember I think it was last year that we talked about this with Ole Miss.
It was.
And so I wanted to see kind of like a similar type, not scheme-wise, but an offense that kind of is very different from anything else that anybody runs in college football. So I just kind of wanted to see what the home and away splits look like. So I indeed pulled them from Tennessee. We actually have a graphic on the board as well.
My man broke out the graphic today, dog. We're already to the board 5 minutes in. How about that?
Yeah, so as you can see on this beautiful graphic right here, there is indeed some differential between home and away splits for Tennessee. For the way they're averaging 30.9 points per game and 32 points given up, whereas at home they're averaging 43.8 points per game and 20.5 points per game allowed at home. So, and this is just under Josh Heupel, obviously, and I did not include neutral sites. This is pure road games. So, interesting stat pool there. And then I just kind of did Oklahoma. This is since 2022 with Britton Venables, just to kind of give some comparison, a little bit of what you can gauge from a team that maybe their offense might travel a little bit better on the road as opposed to some others.
All right, so some of my initial thoughts on this, and I went and dug it down through a variety of different programs to see if this was a major issue with pace-oriented offenses, right? Because pace-oriented offenses on the road, they're still check with me. They like to get onto the ball, and when they're not snapping the ball immediately as soon as they get set, what do? They do one of these, right? And then everyone stands up and looks to the sideline. Well, that communication's gotten a lot harder in the SEC. It gets a lot harder on the road. Now, one thing I'm curious, and we don't have a large data sample size for this yet, is do the helmet comms change this stat, right? Do the helmet comms clarify this communication a little bit better? My hypothesis on this, guys, is no. And here's why. There's only one guy on the field getting the comms. The other 10 guys still got to get lined up, still got to get everything communicated and get all their protections and assignments, alignments, all that good stuff figured out on the road. And I do think this plays a major role on these pace and space offenses. And like I said, I did break down some numbers, but even the defensive performances here are slightly different. And I want to get ahead of some automatic trash on this stat. I was thinking today that these home and road splits would automatically be a little bit more drastic, particularly in the SEC, because you're playing your cupcakes at home. You're getting all of your cupcakes. Those 4 home games every single year, almost guaranteed, are going to be really, really bad football teams that you're going to beat the ever-loving piss out of. So I think we're going to this stat's going to steer a little bit. Nonetheless, anything like 2 scores, like we're seeing right here, we're seeing 13 points of value just on the offensive side of the football, an additional 12 points of value on the defensive side of the football. There's a lot of variance with this football program, bar none. It's point blank, right? 6 and 7 under Heupel. That's a pretty large sample size. And I would imagine he's only lost probably 9 or 10 games in his tenure there at Tennessee, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's probably about 10. He lost 5.
He lost to Georgia at home twice. Maybe once. No. The Eric Stokes fumble, big hit was against Pruitt. So that one doesn't count. He's only lost to Georgia at home once.
Twice, 2023 and 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Twice. All right. So, yeah, I mean, most of them probably come from that singular sample size. He probably hasn't lost more than 10 or 11 games since he's been there.
I would say it's probably about 13. They lost 5 games in 2021.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan, for running to some Google there on that little assistance.
Final guess is 13.
All right, so I went to run this down because I was curious of this
12.
as well.
12.
12? So slightly over half. of his losses on the road. That makes sense. So just the points variation is the drastic difference, not necessarily the outcomes, to say, to an extreme there. But I went and looked at this across the board. I'm surprised Heupel has this much of an impact, because though his offense is based off pace and though he does use motion, it's not the overarching emphasis of his offense. Kiffin's drastic splits, which are 22.5 points on the offensive side of the football last year, by far I think the most in the conference. His drastic splits are so much because of the motion that gets drawn in, and that's why it's a lot of smoke and mirrors with this Lane Kiffin offense. And you can't do that stuff on the road. You got to line up and play football, or else you're going to avoid, or you're going to get a lot of pre-snap penalties. But a lot of teams, guys, have this type of variance, just not this drastic. I looked it up last year. Georgia scored 42.5 points at home, 33.25 on the road, about a 9-point difference. Michigan was actually the only one in the inverse in here in the top 10 in college football last year. They had a negative 5-point differential at home. They were worse at home than they were on the road last year.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I know. USC, another one of these smoke and mirrors offenses, you would think, like a lot of pre-snap motion. They were +8 at home last year. 45 at home, 37.25 on the road. Bama last year, +7 at home. Just not a elite scoring offense last year. Only averaged about, I would imagine, right around 35 points last year per game. So not a tremendous elite offense last year. Florida State, I tried to get as many different conferences in the mix here as well, because I thought this might be an SEC home games are tough type of vibe. Florida State was +10 at home last year. So Ole Miss, Tennessee, different versions of outliers on this statistic, but something to take and take hold of right here as they go on the road for the first time.
And I think something too, you brought up the green dot on players' helmets and the communications that coaches have with their players now. I'm also interested to see too, like how this is impacting first-year starting quarterbacks. Like at some point, I'm sure we'll be able to pull some data of from 2017 to whatever, this is how first-year starting quarterbacks fared in the offenses as opposed to when the green dot was added to these helmets. So interested to see how things change with these communication systems.
Yeah, first-year starting quarterbacks making their first start in the SEC on the road. That'll be a really interesting metric. That obviously sample size won't be as big, but I think that'll be a good indicator as to how these quarterbacks are going to perform.
This is the big one, obviously, of the week, and I want to give you guys the opportunity to kind of give your final thought, final maybe analysis on this as the game approaches Saturday night. What's your primary? What are you looking for in this game? For me, I'm gonna tell you right now, as every matchup against Tennessee, can you stop it with light boxes? Can you stop the run? I think Oklahoma has the ability to do so, but I don't think that's going to be the only requirement here to beat them. I think you're going to have to turn Tennessee over in this football game, because I don't think you're going to be able to consistently stop them.
Yeah, you have to turn Tennessee over because your offense hasn't exactly been electrifying this year. It has not just been scoring points at will. Yeah. Jackson Arnold has been okay, I think, as a quarterback, but the overall offense has just been a little underwhelming. And if you're just pitting that up against Tennessee's offense or even Tennessee's defense, I don't think that's a matchup that you're favored in. So you're going to have to create some havoc on the defensive side of the football, put your offense in favorable situations, whether it's short fields, where they don't have to drive the distance, where you're almost guaranteed points. Like you're at least, at worst, you're getting a field goal. And I think too, you got to find a way to make this game unbalanced in your favor in one of these areas. And I think the turnover situation is the best avenue for Oklahoma to do that.
I just think it's awesome. We're going to get a clarified answer, I feel like, about Tennessee. And I think they have a pretty substantial advantage in terms of Tennessee's offense versus Oklahoma defense being a favorable matchup for Tennessee. And then you look on the other side of the football, I would take Tennessee's defense way in terms of an advantage. They have a large advantage over Oklahoma's offense the way they're playing so far this season. Jackson Arnold hasn't been able to consistently produce on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, this is a game for me where Oklahoma is going to have to rely on external factors if they really want to win this game. Your crowd noise, Tennessee maybe messing up, trying to go too quick here, Nico throwing some turnovers, maybe fumbling. Things such as that are going to be what help Oklahoma in this game, and then building off of them. You can't get a pick and then drive stalls out inside your own 20 of itself for a field goal. You have to capitalize on that and keep the momentum building. So if Oklahoma can do that, then Tennessee's in trouble.
What do you think Heupel's record against ranked teams is?
Oh,
he's probably bad.
It's under 500.
Yeah, I would go. He's like 4-6.
Yeah, he's 7-8.
Okay.
This comes from the chat about this game. At Brooks, who has the better front, Tennessee or Oklahoma? Both Tennessee on both answers. They have a better offensive line and a better defensive line, in my opinion. I would take Oklahoma's linebackers and probably safeties, maybe, over Tennessee's. Other than that, I'm taking Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee's wide receivers. I'm taking Tennessee's running back. I'm damn sure taking their quarterback. So, yeah, I would give the Stutzman crew an advantage, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Everything else is leaning towards Tennessee here in this football game. So, yeah, I think this offensive line has made drastic improvements.
Yeah, they've
never been bad under Heupel. It's hard to be bad. They get the ball out so quickly. They play with so much space. They play with so much pace. You really only got to block for like 2.5 seconds at maximum before it's on the quarterback to extend. So that makes it pretty easy on these tackles and these offensive linemen. Can't wait to see David Sanders in that.
Yeah.
I mean, if David Sanders allows a pressure in 3 years, I'm gonna dog him. I'm gonna dog him. So, yeah, we all got Tennessee?
Still got Tennessee. Still riding with it. Haven't really wavered off of that.
Fair. All right. Let's. It brings up a decent point here. You put it in the notes, Kirby, I think. Is Oklahoma's schedule harder than Florida's? What made you bring this up?
Yeah, so I was looking at, obviously, Oklahoma and Tennessee play this week. I'm like, damn, that's a pretty tough matchup. Then you think, okay, well, they have to play Kentucky after that. Kentucky, kind of these wild card teams where it's, you could beat the shit out of them, or they could play the number one team to absolutely everything they wanted. And I was just kind of looking through the rest of that schedule, and I realized this is a very, very difficult schedule. That for as much as we talk about how Florida's 2024 schedule is super hard, super difficult, I think Oklahoma's goes right up there with it and might even be more difficult in some areas.
So they follow up this week with Auburn.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong schedule.
So I'll run it down for you. They started with 3 cupcakes at Oklahoma. And then it's number 6 Tennessee at Auburn. Neutral site game against number 1 Texas after a bye. South Carolina at Ole Miss, number 5. Maine at Mizzou. They get a bye week, and then they get Alabama, number 4 at home at LSU, who's ranked number 16. Here's my notes on this schedule for you, Curb. They play 6 top 25 ops. That's thick.
Tough.
Good news here. You get bye weeks before Texas and Bama, the 2 highest ranked opponents on your schedule. That's good news for Oklahoma fans. Also good news. You get 3 of these 6 football games at home. 1 of them's a neutral site game, 2 of them on the road.
Yep.
All right, so it's balanced in terms of where you have these. It's not like Georgia's where you got 3 road games against top 5 opponents.
Tough.
All right, now, that's pretty damn tough. That's tough. We'd say that's probably a top 5 schedule in college football right now.
I'd go top 3.
It's brutal. You'd go top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's real tough. Now, this Florida schedule somehow found a way to get harder. And we knew going in it was really bad. They start the season off with now number 8 Miami. Okay, Samford, number 25 A&M at home. Mississippi State, a bye week before UCF. Thank you so much for that. It was duly needed. At UT, okay, the real UT, Tennessee. Sorry, Texas fans. Number 6. That's gonna cause controversy right there. At Kentucky, and then a bye week before number 2 Georgia in the the cocktail world's largest outdoor cocktail party. All right, and then in back-to-back weeks after playing number 2 Georgia, you're on the road at Texas.
Yep.
And then after that, no licking the wounds. You're at home against LSU and Ole Miss in back-to-back weeks. And had Florida State not been a dumpster fire, you'd have been at them to close the year. They play 7 top 25 opponents. And in 4 consecutive weeks, they play number 2, number 1, number 16, and number 5. I don't know if it's ever going to get harder than this.
Yeah, and I think
maybe next year when this inverses itself.
Maybe. And I think part of the reason why I was kind of leaning maybe Oklahoma's is hard is because that Florida State game lost a lot of its shine. Like, we came into the season thinking like, damn, you have to close out the season with LSU, Ole Miss, not to mention also Texas, and then Florida State. Like, that's 5 guaranteed losses right there. Florida State, you can probably give a game to right now. I mean, we have no idea what that program's going to be looking like at the end of the season. I mean, it's not far-fetched to say that you're coaching with 2 teams that have absolutely given up on the year already.
You know what this made me think of? First and foremost, this Oklahoma schedule and what you got right now as a Georgia fan and what you got right now as an Alabama fan, that's the new norm. No more divisions in the SEC. The new norm is you're going to have 5 top 25 opponents on your schedule. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
And what it really pointed out to me is that A, but B, if you, for some reason, the luck of the Greg Sankey gods, get Missouri's dog shit schedule, buddy, you better capitalize. When you get Ole Miss's shitty schedule, you better capitalize. Now, I know a lot of that's by the happenstance of their own doing, scheduling the Tulane's, Georgia Southern's, Wake Forest, and Furman?
Yeah.
Fordham. Not even the real F school. Fordham. All right, so a lot of that is byproduct of that. But your SEC slate is really, really easy this year as well. You only play one of the top 5 teams in the conference. So, like, when you get these easy ones, particularly when they double it down and they do this goofy thing where we're going to invert the schedule the next year, you got 2 years of the easiest schedule in the conference. You better maximize. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Ole Miss and Missouri are in the position to maximize next year. They're all in on this year, and they're going to have an easy one next year.
I'll tell you who's in the best situation for this type of scheduling. Texas. Texas has a very easy conference schedule for themselves this year, and they are certainly in a situation to where they could go on and do really well in the playoffs, potentially win it all, and then go on and do it next year with Arch Manning as a starting quarterback. I mean, they are in the best position roster-wise, I think, looking at your schedule this year and what it's going to be next year. Of you could very well schedule-wise do a repeat if you really tie everything together.
What are your thoughts, Sir G?
I'm just enjoying watching you try to crack open this can.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, Texas definitely has one of these more opportune schedules. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out from here, because I feel like part of me thinks that the SEC kind of wanted to put these Texas and Oklahoma games in situations where they're in top marquee matchups. And obviously it'll naturally happen because there's so many good schools in the SEC. But
boy, J. Will brought the citizens.
You asked. I just got what I could. I'm sorry.
What were you talking about?
I'm talking about how I think the SEC kind of might have wanted to see these big marquee matchups, and how you're going to naturally have them every year in the SEC just because of how talented that conference is.
All right. What?
No, I was just looking at the schedule again for Texas.
It's pretty easy.
Oh, dude. It's Louisiana Monroe this week, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M.
Georgia's the only ranked. Well, Georgia and A&M are the only ranked SEC opponents on that schedule.
And Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's an annual one. You're right. Yeah. That's on me.
But yeah,
Damn.
It's if you get through Oklahoma and Georgia, you're walking through the rest of that schedule, I think.
Now, all right, this is a good point made by I think this is Henry in the chat. OU's schedule is harder. Only reason it's not it's because basically everyone expects UF to suck. Everyone expects you have to go 5-7 on their schedule.
Well, it's also like, if you look at this 9-game stretch for Oklahoma, Tennessee at Auburn, not a very easy game. We all know the lore of that stadium. Then you play Texas, South Carolina, not an easy game anymore. That front 7 is terrifying, I think, especially if you're an Oklahoma fan. Then you travel to Ole Miss, Maine, cool, you get a break. At Missouri, Bama, LSU. I mean, Florida's 9-game stretch, and that is Mississippi State, UCF, Tennessee, which we all know that's Tennessee. It's going to be tough. Kentucky, I mean, maybe. Depends on which Kentucky you get that day. Georgia at neutral site, L. Texas, L. LSU probably will lose that game. Ole Miss, and then Florida State, who knows? Like, that 9-game stretch, I think, favors Oklahoma in difficulty, honestly.
All right, I'm doing this 2 years out now.
We got them thinking.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think how hot this seat gets and how quickly. For Tennessee right now, in a vacuum, they went in this weekend. We got them all taking a loss. They losing to Texas this year?
I think so.
All right, probably. We think so. They losing to Ole Miss this year on the road?
I think so.
All right, they losing to Missouri on the road this year?
Yeah.
All right. They losing to Alabama this year?
Yeah.
All right. They losing to LSU on the road this year?
I don't know.
They'll win one of these. They'll win one of these.
So you got them 7-5 this year either way.
I could see them
8-4, best case.
I could see them swinging Missouri or.
How about 2 years out now? They beating Tennessee next year?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. Not year 2 of Nico. They beating Arch Manning in Texas next year? All right. How about Ole Miss? We'll give them the dub against Ole Miss next year. That roster's going to be decimated. I'll give it to them against Missouri the next year as well. Yeah. Take another loss to Alabama next year.
Maybe.
You get that one on the road. That's a loss. LSU at home next year.
You can win that one.
All right, so what I'm saying is, if he goes 8-4, 7-5 this year, follows it up with an 8-4, 7-5 next year, what are we saying about Brent Venables in Oklahoma?
You got a mediocre
I know, way
head
too
coach.
early, but this is the reality, is what I'm trying to get at. right? If you got one of these brutal ones 2 years in a row, it ain't just how bad you look this year with it, because the results of next year are going to be relatively similar unless you make drastic changes. And it's hard to do that. We've seen that.
If this season is a flop for Venables, like if he does go 7-5 this year, he has to become a transfer portal mercenary. You have to go digging in the portal, in my opinion, because you get another year of Jackson Arnold if he sticks around.
A lot of this defense leaves too.
You got to be. You have to captivate off of that, in my opinion. You got to put together a roster or at least an offense that is going to score points in a year 3 of Jackson Arnold.
I also feel like this Oklahoma roster is a little too talented to lose all of those games. We all give.
No, you're right. The defense especially.
We all give them an automatic loss against Texas. They've beaten them 3 years in a row. And they've been automatic L's every year.
They should have.
And they've been automatic L's the last 3 years. So I mean, I don't want to say that it's stamped right now 7-5, 8-4 because. Yeah. Oklahoma does tend to win these games that they're not supposed to just based on talent, and holy shit, they had a great game.
Hey, write down that super sub for Alan Berry. We'll hit that in the local hour, please.
Okay.
It's just Tate Ratledge's impact, okay? All right. I'm with you. Oklahoma schedule, tough. Just the reality of the SEC, though, now. Moving forward, this is the real deal. It makes you wonder how Ole Miss's schedule showed up like that. Is that where we're at in the conference, where the top 7 or 8 teams are so top end loaded and there's such a talent gap and a wage gap between the bottom 8 that sporadically you're going to have these easy slates?
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
It's randomized.
I think it's a stars align type thing. Yeah. And I mean, the thing that also doesn't help is Ole Miss has a guaranteed annual opponent that is probably one of the worst teams in the SEC right now.
Correct.
Like, they're going to play Mississippi State every year. That's guaranteed. You've got one conference game out of the way, guaranteed loss. Whereas, if you're Alabama, Tennessee's not that easy of a game. Like, you play Tennessee every year. You play Auburn every year. Now, Auburn's not as the program it once was, but I mean, Auburn will still give you trouble.
All right, it's Wednesday, which means it's time to look around and take a peek.
It's Thursday.
I've been off all week.
Yeah.
I've been off all week. And you know why? No Sunday show. I was lacking. I was out here slacking. Shout out my boy DJ Ology. He showed up back in the chat. DJ Ology's song to start the countdown clock is the most universally loved thing we've ever created on this show. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. Everything I try creatively, touch and go, very touch and go. But DJ Ology, I ain't seen a negative comment yet. I'm sure they'll flow now, but hey, shout out to DJ Ology right there. Might get a in-studio appearance from DJ Ology sometimes.
Ooh. Sick.
You do something that's banging for this show, might fuck around and get a job.
We're going to do it like Chappelle's show, where just midway through, we're going to have a performance live.
I mean, dude, that was some effort, And we've had a couple of these. This is what I love about our audience. We've had a couple of these guys go beyond the regular means of listenership to provide value to this network.
Was this a request by you?
No. He hit me up via Instagram DMs with a photo of his studio saying, hey, I'm making some heat for the Film Guy Network. And I was like,
I love that even more.
Word? So, yeah, there we go.
I love that so much.
Let's take a peek. Where y'all taking a peek this week? I'm taking a peek at Arkansas and Auburn.
Yeah,
Arkansas
that's on my
at
list
Auburn.
Too.
Boys, Talon and Hank, the magical combination of SEC quarterbacks we did not expect going into this season, except for maybe the unicorn in Talon Green, which is what we got in this football game. We got the unicorn in Talon Green, self-noted unicorn, going against Drew Brees himself in Hank Brown. Have you seen this video?
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the SEC's in deep shit. We got Hank Brown out here dry repping like Drew Brees, taking mental reps by himself on an empty practice field where no one except for the one media journalist with a camera has seen his work. What shows up, or the work you do in the dark shows up in the light. Hank Brown, Talon Green, Auburn and Arkansas combined for 1,000 yards of total offense in this game. We have a shootout at noon on Saturday.
That is also one of my games because I think it's two programs that are kind of in the middle of their conferences right now. You kind of don't know what direction they're heading. We thought Sam Pittman was a dead man walking coming into this year. Auburn looked like they were going to be really good at the start of the season, then had that awful loss to Cal so bad that they benched Peyton Thorne. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out and where these two programs go, because I think whoever wins is going to be on a very upward trajectory for the rest of their season.
I'm taking a peek at Kansas State and BYU only because I'm not watching a full game of Kansas State and BYU. But I do think this game could be interesting. I do like Avery Johnson, and that's why this game is a peek, because I only want the offensive reps from Kansas State. I only want to watch Avery Johnson play. I don't really care to watch anything else that has to do with this football game. Might give a little peek at the stats for Avery Johnson, might check out the halftime highlight reel, and then might lock in for the fourth quarter. But I'm certainly not sitting down and watching this for 4 quarters. But I am interested because Avery Johnson, you certainly have my attention.
I'm gonna tell you what, Baylor at Colorado is gonna get one of the 3 screens in the bar on Saturday night, being split screened with Arch's debut against ULM.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the Fox broadcast on one, and then I'm gonna have over in the corner Arch putting up about 350. We think you're going for 350 on Saturday?
350.
350. I'm seeing a tree fitty performance from
no way.
I don't know. I could see them pulling him early because you can't afford to lose Arch.
Nah, let him ride.
Okay.
Let him ride. We got Heisman's to win, dog.
Go ahead and lose Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning.
This take. Have y'all seen this? Just like everybody's like jumping on the Arch algorithm. You know, how dare you try to just use a man's name and a performance for YouTube views?
That's a shame.
Who does that? Who would do that?
Disgusting.
I know, right?
I'm taking a peek at Kansas versus West Virginia. Jayhawks, this one counts. Please do not lose this game.
Bro.
This is for the no.
It's dead, bro. It's over with.
Haven't taken a loss in the Big 12. That's all that matters. You can lose every other game, win your conference, and you're going playoff. So I still believe.
Let me just go ahead and give you this proposal. While I still can, I've been trying to get you on this one. I haven't even probed you about it. I've just been kind of dropping some subtle hints, kind of letting you know like it's kind of time to jump ship. John Mateer ain't sticking around too much longer for you to hop on this bandwagon. So you better get on this Washington State Cougars, and you better do it now before it's
He's
too
even
late.
wearing Cougars colors out here for the Mateer wagon.
Look,
I'm riding the Jayhawks train till it crashes.
Till the wheels fall off.
Wheels fall off.
I think the wheels are already off. That.
hit me up in November when basketball.
The wheels have not fallen off. They haven't taken any losses in conference. You can lose as many games as you want outside of conference. Win your conference.
Who
go
did
to
this
conference
last year?
championship.
Oklahoma State. Didn't Oklahoma State lose to Tulsa at home, and then all of a sudden they're in the mix, 9-2 late in the year for the Big 12?
Correct.
And had Big 12 thing ever.
And had they
just got an op. Kansas got an opportunity.
No.
And had they beat Texas in last year's format, if you were a 12-team playoff, they were in.
Buddy, Fat Man Genie ain't walking through that door.
Doesn't need to, bro. We've got Devin Neal, Jalen Daniels, Luke Grimm, Lawrence Arnold. We got it all, bro.
I'm still holding on to that college football 25 roster.
I don't even recognize Jalen Daniels anymore.
I don't either, but he might show up this week.
I'm taking a peek at Georgia Tech and Louisville.
Ah, man, you stole my thunder here.
I was going to actually just watch this game.
I was about to say,
I'll let you take it.
Here's the deal. It's on my take a peek list, but it's going to get elevated to main screen because it's in that 3:30 window. And I think that second half of USC, Michigan's going to look pretty ugly on the scoreboard. I might be having Georgia Tech Louisville fourth quarter sweater on main screen at 3:30 this Saturday afternoon. That's absurd to me.
I'm just interested in the football game because I think that this could be where one of these second contenders in the ACC kind of unveils itself. I know Georgia Tech already lost to Syracuse, but I still think that they're definitely one of the better teams in this conference, and Louisville being one of the few ranked teams in this conference. Interested to see how the Cardinals match up against Georgia Tech. Going to pay attention to Haynes King and what Buster Faulkner has going on. But yeah, just kind of interested to see because I think that this could really determine the future for this conference.
All right, we got any more taking a peeks?
Yeah, I got one more. I'm going to take a peek at Clemson versus NC State. I don't know what Clemson is like as a football team. We saw a Georgia game where their offense was stagnant, couldn't do anything. We saw an App State game where they had 49 points barely through the second quarter. So I want to see the in-between there. And I also am curious to see just how bad is this NC State defense, because I think Clemson is the best defense they've faced to date. So I'm really curious to see what those two clashes will look like.
Got a freshman quarterback starting in that game, too, for NC State. My man Bailey, the 6'6", long-limbed quarterback from Chaminade down there in Florida. So that's the Taking a Peek segment. I want to debut a new segment called Take a Leak. This is the game that you put on in the bathroom stall. Okay, this is the Take a Leak. UTEP's 0-3 on the road at Colorado State, a 1-2 Colorado State Rams team. Take a leak. Can you find me a worse one? I didn't prepare you for this.
No, that wins.
That's as bad as it gets this weekend. Take a leak.
I don't know. Northern Iowa, Hawaii at midnight.
Oh, my God.
At midnight.
Oh, buddy, I'm going to be up finding that one on Fubo. What you talking about?
100%. 100%. That's doo-doo.
Let me see if I can find one.
That's the poo-poo slate.
It really is.
That's the 2 a.m. shame squad right there.
If you're live tweeting that one, oh man,
I'm gonna be live tweeting Northern Iowa at Hawaii at 2:00 in the morning.
North Texas or Wyoming at North Texas is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Jamie with the super sub just to say take a leak on tech.
Love it.
Love that
alliteration.
All right, we're good with take a peek. All right, next contender to stumble, boys. We've already seen one happen, right? We've already seen Notre Dame take a L to Northern Illinois at home, and we love them for that. Thank you very much, Notre Dame, for cheating on your wife on national television. Who's going to be next? Who's up next in this line? Who are you putting on alert? Also, a little subtext wrong one type of vibe here.
Kind of, yeah.
I think our audience really loved wrong one. I got tweeted at with the, you told them wrong one so many times when those things hit. So, guys, who's on alert this week?
Nebraska, I think, is on the wrong one alert because you kind of laid out the land for them this year, and it is like you could lose 2 games. You could lose your 2 important games down the stretch this year. Illinois is an important one for you because it is kind of this measuring stick, this secondary measuring stick, because you got a keynote win against Colorado because people are going to pay attention to that one. This is against a ranked opponent with Dylan Raiola under center. I'm paying attention to it, but it would be the wrong one because of all the teams that you could take a L to. I wouldn't say Illinois is one of them just because they're ranked. I would still say that Illinois probably one of these mid-tier Big Ten teams.
There isn't really a team this week that I saw that's like a contender that it's like,
buddy,
they're in a lot of trouble. Like if Tennessee lost to Oklahoma, that's a top 15 matchup on the road. I don't think that's a wrong one. That's a tough game to lose. I do have next week.
You don't think the fighting Cam Wards need to be on alert for USF on the road?
Now,
I mean, we watched a really good Bama team last year that's really well coached go down there and get boxed. We've also seen USF go on the road this year under Alex Grinch and play a really, really tough 3.5 quarters. Miami, watch out now.
There's a reason.
They have rolled through some good football or some bad football teams to start this season. This isn't one of those terrible mid-major opponents. Watch out.
There's a reason why I didn't have that on my list. I think week 5, though, Penn State versus Illinois. Penn State flirted with this a couple years ago. I think they had like the 9 overtime game. It was one of the first 2-point conversion rules in the overtime. So kind of watch out, especially if Illinois beats Nebraska this week.
Now, I know Ole Miss is really, really good at home, but can Kentucky give them a tough problem next week? Are we froze again?
Yeah, just keep going, though.
Can Kentucky give them a problem next week at home?
They can.
They're big enough, physical enough on the lines of scrimmage. They have some ability to disguise coverage. They're veteran enough not to have busted assignments, you would imagine, on that trickeration offense from Ole Miss, all those switch releases that they do. I'm not calling it next week, but I think that might be our next one where it's like, hey, contenders in a dogfight 4th quarter at home.
I think there is a team in college football that it's just from here on out, you're on the wrong one alert every single week. I think it's Northern Illinois. Dude, you did it.
They're ranked.
You're number 23 in the country. You knocked off Notre Dame. You got the biggest win almost of the entire season right now.
Yeah.
You are pretty much a lock to go in there as a group of 5 college football playoff team. You just got to keep taking care of business week by week. So I think from here on out, Northern Illinois is on the wrong one alert.
That's a really, really good point. I like the Kentucky versus Ole Miss take. I like it more next week when Ole Miss travels to South Carolina. Columbia is going to be yearning for a big win. That's going to be kind of their next game. We've all seen that front seven and what it can do. We all know kind of Ole Miss offenses don't really travel well on the road. I think that's a big game to watch out for.
A couple weeks from now, Missouri goes on the road to Texas A&M. That could be a tough one for a college football playoff contender. Also brings up a random fun fact about this year's SEC slate. Did you know that Missouri goes on the road to UMass this year?
I would have almost told you there's a better likelihood that UMass doesn't even have a home stadium than for Missouri to go to their stadium.
Well, how did that work out? UMass home game against Missouri.
Yeah,
then
how'd you swing
travel to Athens?
Who's the AD there?
What are you doing?
Over under. Set the line right now on UMass's stadium capacity. I got it right here.
I'm going 30,000 is the over under.
Wow.
I'm hitting the under.
Dude, I was gonna go like 7.
17 grand. 17,000 seats in historic Martin and Richard. Oh, that's the press box. AstroTurf Root Zone 3D Blend field.
I mean,
they just slapped as many sponsors as they could in that thing. AstroTurf?
Yep.
Dude,
AstroTurf Root Zone 3D Blend in 2022. That's what they put down. Installation of a brand new AstroTurf Root Zone 3D3 blend in 2022. 3-year-old turf out there, 2-year-old turf. Should be a fast track.
Disgusting.
Nasty.
What do you think the away locker rooms look like out there? Can't be worse than Auburn's.
I don't even know if they've ever needed one before.
Can't be worse than
Missouri's
Auburn's.
bringing a tent for sure.
Yeah.
Just roll up on the buses in your pads.
The circus.
Did you have to hit it again?
Yeah.
We're down bad, huh?
Yeah, she's weaning out on us.
Technology.
Doesn't make me very happy.
No.
Where should we go to next, guys? I'm discombobulated already. Unless it doesn't happen. Let's go here. We already did unless it doesn't happen, didn't we?
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
So I already burned my Hank Brown and Taylor Green take on my taking a peek. You heard it here first. 1,000 yards total offense this Auburn-Arkansas game. You heard it here first unless it doesn't happen.
We just glossed over it. You can give it up again.
Nah, boom shots in this football game. Explosives. Bad defenses is what I'm expecting on Saturday. A lot of explosive plays.
All right. Missouri has a ranked game against Texas A&M, which we've already mentioned. One of their few big challenges of this season. We know what the schedule looks like. Missouri coming off one of their biggest win of the entire season, beat Boston College, a ranked opponent on the road, come from behind victory. Very emotional win, I would think, for the Tigers. However, the real test is this week against Vanderbilt.
Yes,
Give me
sir.
the doors knocking off Missouri.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Cinderella story's back on track, baby.
Buddy, she's struggling.
We're back.
She froze again.
Yeah. Sheesh. I'm sorry to our listeners.
The listeners don't care. It's the viewers that really get into it.
Yeah, I don't know how to fix this on the fly.
You can't.
There
You
is
just
no way.
gotta keep adjusting it.
I think what we could do is in between shows. I don't want to start another stream and go to StreamYard in between these two. But if we're having to restart this every 90 seconds. It feels like at this point.
Yeah.
I sat on my hands for this while we were doing the pre predictions, but I don't think Tennessee beating the shit out of Oklahoma is that obvious. In fact, I don't think Tennessee's ready for the environment that they're going to be walking into in Oklahoma. I have Oklahoma shocking the Volunteers and beating the Tennessee on the road.
Ooh. So you did switch.
I never said Tennessee was going to win this game.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I've kind of maintained silence in that, even when Brooks said, so we all think Oklahoma's going to lose. I didn't shake my head. I just kind of sat there.
Attaboy. So you got Oklahoma winning?
I have Oklahoma winning this game. Unless it doesn't happen.
Unless it doesn't happen, then the take never happened. If you're going to beat K-State and Avery Johnson, you'd best be able to stop the run. BYU is allowing just 2.8 yards per carry right now, 25th in the country against the run. BYU pulls off the upset at home. Give me the Cougs.
Ooh. I like it.
Big 12 in shambles after Saturday night.
You know,
The Jayhawks are winning.
losing a game you feel as if you shouldn't have lost, it's a tough one. It hits you right in the gut. It hits you right in the heart. Then you go up and follow that the next week. When you almost win a game you had no business almost winning, that's also just another punch in the gut. I mean, that's tough to bounce back. And then you got a sleeper game coming up on your schedule.
Ooh,
you got
snoozer.
a real snoozer after taking 2 emotional losses. I hate to do it to you, Mark Stoops. The Bobcats are coming out for blood. Give me the Ohio Bobcats, the real Ohio University.
Oh, my.
Knocking off Kentucky.
Oh, my.
Georgia fans are going to love that.
Holy shit, the transitive property is going to have people ranking Georgia outside the top 25 after that one.
It'd be
for
some
real.
nasty stuff.
Transitive property making an appearance later in the show.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
Did not know that.
Spoiler alert, if we make it to later in the show.
We'll make it. It'll just be a frozen screen.
You heard it here first. Haynes King, 400 all-purpose yards against Louisville on Saturday. And at the end of that game, at the conclusion of that football game, we're going to have a serious conversation about Haynes King, ladies and gentlemen. Haynes King is in the top 10 right now in yards thrown. Okay, he is also in the top 3 in yards rushed for at the quarterback position. Haynes King, legitimate opportunity this year, boys, to go 3K, 1K, 3,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, and oh, by the way, has an entire year of eligibility in this Buster Faulkner system to come back and run it back for a third year as a starter. Haynes King, potential top 3 quarterback in college football next year? Maybe. You heard it here first. Way early on that one.
You got any more, Curb?
Yeah, I really hate to shit on your Haynes King thing, but
come on.
He's up top there because he's played more games than everyone.
You know what? Technicalities, fallacies, don't care.
All right, just putting that out there, making sure you realize that this guy would
really
be.
Fact checking me on the air right now. What are you? Never mind.
It's not a fact check. The facts you
Can't
said.
make that joke.
The facts you said are
You
correct.
fact checking me right now in the debate, bro?
It's not a debate.
I'll see you fact check anybody else on this stage.
You made correct statements. I'm just adding the asterisk to it. This guy would be the media darling if Arch Manning didn't exist. Dylan Raiola is a freshman quarterback. Patrick Mahomes Jr. maybe. Nebraska football is finally back. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. He's going to look like shit in Nebraska's loss to Illinois. You heard it here first unless it doesn't happen.
No line balls.
Yeah.
No frozen ropes.
None.
No taters.
Looks awful.
Yep.
You know what? I'll go ahead and double down on it.
Double down.
Cam Ward's going to look like shit in Miami's loss to USF.
Oh, my God.
He falls out of the Heisman race. We've got a complete and utter disarray happening in the quarterback world this week.
And you heard it here first.
Unless it doesn't happen.
That's how you hammer that segment right there, boys.
Let me set the scene for you.
Oh,
Should I close
We
my
have
eyes?
an SEC veteran taking the big stage this weekend, and you probably didn't even know it. He's seasoned. He's been playing football since Steve Spurrier was still a head coach. He's been playing this for a long time. He knows his business. He knows the ins and outs of college football. He knows the ins and outs of this offense. He already put one Power 4 school on upset alert, and he turned their pants into the color of their jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Connor Bazelak and Bowling Green going into Kyle Field, taking out the Aggies, making them unranked, and just sinking.
The Bazelak attack.
Elko. You heard it here first, unless it doesn't happen.
The Bazelak attack for a dub on the road in Kyle Field. That's bold.
I like it.
I don't.
I like it. I like it from a chaos standpoint.
Connor Bazelak, former Missouri Tiger.
Yes.
Yes.
Turned. Do you know where he went next?
ACC school somewhere.
Nah, he went to Indiana.
Really?
And now he's at Bowling Green.
I mean, they're a basketball school. Might as well be an ACC program.
Shout out to the
Any more?
That's all I got.
All right. Top 5 programs in the shitter. Now, this is one of those classic, I thought we were going this way. You were going this way with the show notes. So which way do you want to go with this first? Top 5 programs in a vacuum is where I ended up taking this discussion. Meaning, I think there are 4 programs that no matter what, in a vacuum, if they became available tomorrow, like if we just opened up the doors and just said, hey, every job's available, where's the best job? Where's the best job? I think the 4 at the top, you can argue for 1. I think they're interchangeable, and I think they're forever constants in the world of college football nowadays. Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, and Texas. I think those 4 schools remain, no matter what, they're forever in a vacuum top 5 football programs. You want that job. And then the 5th school is reserved for any Florida school that's worth a shit at the time. Because history of college football tells me that those 4 programs I mentioned, plus 1 random Florida school, and it's not random, it's the 3 that are down there. One of those Florida schools will have their stuff in order. Those are the top 5 football programs in a vacuum.
I like that. Where's the shitter part come in?
All right, top 5 programs in the shitter. These are football programs that are historically relatively good, but they're in the shitter right now.
Ooh.
All right, number 1, Florida State. You would think it might be Florida. It's not. Florida State's in the shitter down bad. 0-3, just lost to Memphis, and their head coach that just lost to Memphis 0-3 after a 10-0, 13-0 regular season. That guy signed through 2031.
Ooh.
And you got a lot of questions about him and about $70 million owed to him in a buyout. That ain't great. You're down real bad right now if you're a Florida State fan. They brought the brown bags pre-packaged to that Memphis game. That's how down bad Florida State fans are right now. Number 2, Florida. Speaks for itself. Number 3, sneaky, historically good football program. A lot of people shit on them nowadays. Did you know that UCLA is 18th all time on AP polls from 1936 to 2023?
I said yesterday, it's a pretty decent brand. Got some askew looks. So I was like, hang on, guys.
Number
Bruins are
4,
good.
top 5 program in the shitter right now. Michigan's future is really dim at this point with all the stuff hanging over, all the losses, all the loss of talent, all the loss of coaching. It just, it looks like it's going to take a while to get that back to where it just was, 7 months ago. Number 5, Colorado.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you were 0-10 before he got there, but it feels like you not soldier soul's the wrong term here, but it feels like you grabbed the shiny toy that you thought was going to make you a relevant program, and they've made you relevant in the news cycle, but you're not going to win more than 5 or 6 games this year in best case scenario, and we all think he's going to leave you high and dry.
We do.
And it's going to look just as bad, if not worse, than it did before he even got there.
Yeah, but the Colorado one's interesting because, this is going to be something that, like, if a true Colorado fan 20 years from now will be like, Boy, the Deion Sanders years, they might have sucked. They might have set us up for failure 10 years from now, but they sure were fun. Colorado football has never been more exciting than it was during that period of time. And I think that's kind of the saving grace.
There is no way that athletic director ever regrets having hired him.
No.
Because of all the enrollment that's gone up, all of the income that's brought into that school, all of the merchandise they've sold, all the tickets they sold. There's never a version of this hiring that ever goes wrong for this athletic director, period, point blank. But from where the program was before you got here, what it's going to look like when you left, it's in the shitter.
All right,
who would go in 5 there?
Is this going to be the only hire that turns out to be bad, but it's good? It turned out for the best.
A good bad hire.
Yeah, where everyone kind of won, but they didn't win on the field.
Like, the AD is going to get praised for hiring Deion Sanders without any sort of results showing for it.
The institution of Colorado is better off because Deion Sanders went there. The football team didn't change.
Correct.
But again, like, it's not like Colorado was a team where it's like someone's got to come save our Colorado team and bring it back to the once prominent glory it had. What was that face for?
Oh, we ran through it, but we're all right. All right, how'd you take this segment?
So, coming off of, yesterday, maybe it was 2 days ago, you did a top 10 quarterbacks rankings. And I was thinking,
yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Well, I was thinking, maybe we could do top 10 running backs or top 10 receivers. I figured that would be too hard for you to do. Top 10 teams, everyone's doing that anyway. So I figured let's do top 5 teams that are just doing horrible this season. They're absolutely in the shitter, having dog-awful seasons. So I ranked them. Number 5 is obviously Michigan. You go from the national title last year to where you are right now, and then the outlook you have moving forward, not really good. Number 4, not really a relevant team, but the Temple Owls. Did you know Temple hasn't won more than 3 games in a season since 2019?
Since Rule's last season, yeah, that checks out.
Program is in the shitter. UCLA, for obvious reasons, like we said.
Kind of hard to win at Temple, right?
That's true, but it's also when your record's that bad, like, you got to be named.
Well, I'll take that back. You're a mid-major school in Philadelphia. I don't know how much Philadelphia high school football pumps out talent.
Right.
It's still a metroplex. Still
Matt
a massive
Rule also,
city.
Yeah, Matt Rule also had you as a top 25 team at one time. Now, granted, it was for a very short period of time, but we saw that you can reach the heights if you really have a great coach. Number 3 is UCLA. You've got the local Buffalo Wild Wings offering to give out free wings if your team wins. Do you see that schedule? They're not winning more than 3 games a season anyway.
That reminds me of the time the Cleveland Browns, the one bar in Cleveland was like, hey, free beer the moment we win.
Yeah. That's tough. That's an embarrassing thing.
It's a hefty tab right there.
Yeah, it is.
Florida State, I put at number 2. Now, you had them at number 1. Here's why I have Florida State at number 2. They had recent history of a lot of success. They had a 13-0 season. We all know the argument. They could have been a playoff team last year. They very, very much could have been in the thick of it. This year's bad. The outlook's not great moving forward, but they've had recent success. Florida's been dealing with stuff like this for the last 3 or 4 seasons now. I mean, it's been
last 3 coaching hires.
Yeah, exactly. It's been
4 coaching hires.
We're going on.
My God,
exactly.
How's that AD still have a job? He's not gonna, right?
Everything else is good.
He's not gonna. He gets fired for this. I think that's why they're dragging their feet, other than saving the money. Mm-hmm. All right, you got Florida number 1.
So Florida's my number 1 team this year. OLI is Mississippi State. I mean, that's ugly. Yeah. Lost to Toledo, that bad.
Is that a loser packs up football game between Florida and Mississippi State this weekend? I had it in the wrong one to lose. If you're Billy Napier, that's the wrong one to lose if you think you're going to survive this season.
And you said there's a bye week after this week for them?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in year 1, though.
That's perfect time.
But we're talking about whether or not they fire Billy if he loses Mississippi State this week.
He's cooked. But I think Mississippi State can lose this game, and it's still like, all right.
Yeah, no,
you got it.
Hey, I think they signed him to a 5-year deal out there.
Yeah,
can't be Cannon your coach 3 games in your career.
You can't. But you can think about it.
You can think about it.
Sure.
You can argue
missed already.
Yeah, you can think this is a dead fish walking already.
Dead fish walking. That's a new one.
Metallica coming to Virginia Tech this weekend.
This is a segment made for you. So much so that I didn't even take part in making a list.
I didn't either.
Really?
This is just a solo Christian Kirby special right here.
All right, so for those who don't know, Metallica is having a concert in Blacksburg. That's where they play, right?
Yeah.
So Metallica, obviously the iconic Enter Sandman song is their walkout. So it kind of got me thinking, what are some good bands / musical artists that would be really fun to watch in college towns that have kind of a tie to them? I have 3 honorable mentions because they are no longer with us there. So number 3, Leonard Skinner at Alabama.
Yes.
Sweet Home, Alabama. I mean, come on.
I've seen Leonard live.
Really?
The new one.
I was going to say.
The lead singer died in a plane crash pretty famously, and his brother is now the lead singer. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I lost my Leonard Skinner pick that I caught in the front row.
Dang, you caught a pick?
I caught a pick.
Sick.
But the bassist was, oh, man. Talk about a rock star.
Hell yeah.
Who you got?
Number 2 on that, Tom Petty at Florida. They sing Won't Back Down between third and fourth quarter. That's a good one. Toby Keith at Oklahoma. I mean, come on.
R.I.P.
I think it is cool what they're doing this year with that.
Yeah, that's also very cool.
They're playing his music at the start of the fourth quarter.
That's nice.
Do it kind of like Tom Petty did. Now we're getting into the list.
No, he played there, right? He was a quarterback there.
He played there? I thought he went there. I didn't know he played.
No. I'm thinking of I'm thinking of the first baseman that played at Texas. Sorry, keep going.
Anywho, so I've got seven names on here that I think would be really fun to watch. Darius Rucker, big South Carolina fan.
So you went Rucker, not Hootie.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Hootie. They haven't... Darius Rucker himself, the act.
You saying Darius got more bangers than Hootie?
No, I'm saying Darius Rucker fits the South... Don't let it distract you, bro.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to be quiet about it.
Darius Rucker fits the South Carolina genre more than Hootie, in my opinion. Darius Rucker is a very, country solo artist. Wagon Wheel in South Carolina would go pretty hard.
Yeah.
Number 6, Katy Perry, Ole Miss. She's a massive Ole Miss fan. She's been on game day a couple of times for it. That would be a good show. Number 5, let's see if y'all recognize this one. DJ Diesel at LSU. You know who DJ Diesel is?
Nope. Oh, it's Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq.
Shaq is a house DJ now. That'd be a lot of fun. To
Not now. Has been for like 10 years.
Yeah, but like a prominent one.
He saw Steve Aoki get famous, and he was like, you know what? People love me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give it a try.
Well, he was mixing back when he was playing basketball at LSU. Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Next up.
You know I got skills, man.
Oh, I thought you were about to go.
I thought you were about to freestyle for us.
I don't know it like that. That is a 90s rap song. I don't think I was born before that one came out.
Anyways, number 5, Quavo at Georgia. I mean, Quavo's been notoriously kind of, a big fan of the Georgia Bulldogs team. The picture of him and Rodrigo.
I'd go Bubba Sparks before Quavo.
As long as it's better than what they did with Ludacris at the 2016 G-Day game.
I mean, can you just imagine booty, 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 booty rocking everywhere coming over the speakers of Sanford?
That'd be pretty crazy.
It would be epic.
Yeah, that would be wild.
All right, now we're into the top.
Bubba Sparks.
Now we're in the top 3.
Bubba Sparks. I don't mean to out him. Listener of the show.
Sick.
Heck yeah.
Sick. Top 3. This has to be in 2005. It's the only way it's relevant. Snoop Dogg at USC. Back when USC football was good, Snoop Dogg was kind of prominent.
He could be relevant now.
People still took Snoop Dogg seriously as a rapper. I think over the last 15 years, he's kind of just becoming, a prominent figure, kind of a comedic figure almost. Snoop Dogg, the rapper at USC in 2005 when the football program's at its peak. Love that idea. Number 2, Kenny Chesney at Tennessee. Kenny Chesney playing in Neyland Stadium would be awesome. He's a big Tennessee fan. Number 1, would you like to take a guess who I selected?
No.
All right. Jay Will?
I have no idea.
Garth Brooks in LSU.
Oh, okay.
Low places.
Low places, calling Baton Rouge.
Oh yeah, that's the main one.
That would
make sense.
That would be insane. And Garth Brooks concerts are insane. So
yeah. Is he still performing?
I don't think he's on tour anymore. No, he comes back every few years and does a not a reunion tour, but a comeback tour. So we'll see. But yeah, that's my list of artists who I think would make really, really good college shows.
Always love a mid-show text from sources. Always love that.
Is it
Just praise for the show.
Oh, it's not juicy?
Nah, not fun stuff.
Well, if it's praise.
Not tease it to Patreon.
Let's say if it's praise, you can read it, can't you?
Yeah, just say good work. That's all I said with a clip from the show. Good work.
Oh, sick.
Let's go.
Any other thoughts?
I don't believe so.
We're going to run it short. That's all right. Hey, we got a whole another hour, maybe an hour, coming up on Them Dogs right now. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape. We're live?
Yeah, we are live.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in to our second hour. It is our local hour. We finna talk that dog. But I want to start today's local hour with a shout out to our friends over at Better. Better now offers college football props. Enter more than or less than key stats on college football players. You can play in 23 states, including Georgia. Better is now matching first deposits up to $250 if you use promo code Brooks. I'm going to show you how easy it is right here on our show tonight. I'm sharing my screen to my phone right now. Are our viewers able to see that?
Yes, sir.
All right, remember, promo code Brooks, sign up today. Boys, what is a certain matchup we like? We already said we love the overs on all these Auburn quarterbacks, Auburn-Arkansas quarterbacks. So we got it at 210 passing yards right now for Taylor Green. I'm going to slam that over, and I'm going to scroll right down. Check out my man Hank Brown, set at 220.5. Give me that over as well. I'm going to stand on business right now with my prediction of an absolute offensive shootout. We're going to go perfect play right here. Put a dub on it. 20 will pay 60 right now. You can get this entry over on Better using promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $250. Again, promo code Brooks. Guys, use those guys, man. Support those who support us on this here network. That's how it's done around here. Shout out to Jay Will for getting that pulled up on the fly. Shout out to Better. Let's see if we can go 4-0. Really hard to hit those props like that. Better doing a good job of allowing your boy to make some bread over there this year on Better. Again, promo code Brooks. All right, it is the local hour. We got a great one for you. Most important games of this here bye week for you as a Georgia fan to be paying attention to. We got an episode of Georgia Trivia. I got to go get that out of the other room. Fantasy update being provided by our boy over Jay Will. Who needed the bye week more, Alabama or Georgia? We'll talk about that tonight. The Bulldogs rookies are balling in the NFL right now. We're going to take a peek at some of the transfers that have left this program. This was a segment idea actually provided by a listener that was curious. Hey, the individuals that have left this program, not to like crap on anybody, but where are they at? How have they performed? What does it look like when you leave the University of Georgia over the last several years? We'll be taking a deep dive into that. I think there are some notes to be had out of that, some things to be paying attention to, especially moving forward as the transfer portal continues to play a major role in college football. Most important games, boys. Where do we want to start? I think we should start right there. What are you paying attention to this week in the bye week as you're sitting at home enjoying your time to fiend on college football like the rest of the college football world?
So there's actually something going on at 6:30 on this, which is kind of why I prompted it for the show. But number one game I'm going to pay attention to the most, or not the most, but one of the games I'm going to pay attention to, Stanford at Syracuse.
Interesting.
I like Fran Brown. I want to see what Fran Brown's doing. It's going to be one of the first opportunities I think Georgia fans have to actually sit down and watch a full Stanford game. It's a Friday night game. You know, you might have watched the Georgia Tech game. That was a really good game, but this is a game where it's primetime TV on Friday night. You should be able to watch it, be able to go out and see what Coach Fran Brown is up to.
That's an interesting one to pull right there. I mean, I was going to just start with the easiest one and the most obvious one of Tennessee versus Oklahoma. As a Georgia fan, this is going to be your first true test of what Tennessee looks like against an SEC opponent, what they look like on the road, because you do get them at home this year. They have to come to Sanford Stadium. So just kind of getting a true, authentic look at Nico, what he's looking like in a road environment. And overall, how does this SEC squad match up against another SEC squad on both the defensive side of the football and the offensive side of the football?
I'm going to go ahead and rattle off my top five. Number 5, Arch versus ULM. I think you get a good preview of what the future looks like. Huh?
You're scared of us taking them.
Yeah, I'm absolutely scared of you taking my take. So I'm going to get out and get on them right now. That's why my name's on the show. Arch versus ULM, super interesting football game from a preview of the future standpoint. You know you're going to have to face this guy next year in Athens as a Georgia fan. So something to be paying attention to right there. Florida at Mississippi State at noon. You just want to laugh, have a good chuckle at noon on Saturday. Go ahead and get on that one. one. Number 3, NC State at Clemson. A tremendous one for the transitive property of college football, right? NC State got drubbed up by Tennessee. You beat the shit out of Clemson. What's this football game look like? Does Clemson beat the hell out of NC State? Georgia fans on Twitter going to be using that one. Y'all beat the hell out of this team. This team that we beat the hell out of, beat the hell out of them. That team's not very good. We're going to beat the hell out of you. You're going to do it. I'm promising you right now. Number 2, already mentioned it a ton on this show tonight. I'm really intrigued by this Arkansas at Auburn game. Also really intrigued by what in the hell Hugh Freeze saw from Peyton Thorne for the last 6 months to make him think that this Hank Brown guy don't deserve the opportunity to beat him out. So very interested there. Number 1, obviously, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Very curious to see whether or not Tennessee is indeed for real.
But did he take any of yours?
I mean, obviously the Tennessee at Oklahoma one, but that was a given. I figured. So, what else do you have, J-Will?
I had Clemson, NC State, because you need Clemson to continue to be a good team. You need that to continue to look like a good win. So I had that one, but I also had the Arch Manning versus UL Monroe, just because you might end up playing them this year. You're definitely going to end up playing them next year. So
that's a good one.
Williams said he's going to be taking peaks on vacation.
Good for him, dude. Everyone needs a vacation.
Don't tell my wife that.
What the hell does that mean?
Oh, I don't hope she's not watching right now. What do you got?
All right, next game I have Illinois at Nebraska. It's another Friday night game. You get to hate watch Dylan Raiola. I know that some Georgia fans are still kind of salty about him leaving, the way he decommitted, the way he flipped, the poem and all that. He's still a really talented quarterback, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. So those are 2 Friday night games that I think Georgia fans should really tune into. The Saturday game, Georgia Tech at Louisville. It's a 3:30 kick. Georgia Tech, obviously, you're going to play them on Black Friday this year. Louisville is going to be, I think, their first real big test. Louisville throws the ball very well. Georgia Tech, not as great at stopping the pass. I still took Georgia Tech plus 10.5, I believe. So I'm interested. I know I'm going to be watching that one. And then, obviously, for obvious reasons, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Is Nico legit? How good is this Tennessee team going to be? How much should Georgia fans worry about Tennessee coming to Athens later in the season? All of the above. By the way, it's going to be a top 15 SEC matchup. Has chances to be a game of the year type thing.
I just hope it's not a snoozer quickly.
Right. I hope it's a good football game.
Yeah, I feel that way. I'm hopeful about USC Michigan, but it's not going to happen.
That's what live betting's for, dude.
Yeah. You're a big live bet.
No game's ever a snoozer.
I bet US allows you live bet. Shout out to those guys, even though it's a better show tonight. Georgia trivia.
I would love to do it.
You said you got some tough questions for us.
Yeah,
tonight?
I got some ones that I probably shouldn't have done because they're a little bit too difficult. Some of our old heads in the chat might nail some of these, though, to be honest with you. So let's do this. Let's hammer this out right now. We're going to page 92 on this stat sheet. All right, here we go.
How do you want to do? We want to do like you have to raise your hand to answer first? Or?
Oh, sure. Let's give me like you got a buzzer or something. Let's make it real difficult for the podcast listeners to make them.
I'll just politely raise my hand.
You gonna raise your hand? Well, they can't hear that on air or on podcast. So give me and then I'll come to you.
I know the answer.
Okay, here we go.
Question.
Most rushes in a football game. 2 points for naming the name. 3 points for giving me the actual number of rushes. I'm not recognizing names. All right, what do you got, Kirby?
I feel like Herschel Walker's a pretty obvious.
Herschel Walker is indeed the name.
I'm going to go.
Give me a crisp 47.
Wow.
Your hand wasn't raised, so I'm going to
say he's not recognizing.
I'm going to say 47. Wow. I'm going to say 47.
It was indeed 47. Holy crap.
So,
do we know the football game?
What year?
1981.
81.
He went for 47 for $192.
South Carolina.
No.
Clemson.
No.
Tennessee.
Florida.
Checks out.
Herschel Walker is number 1, number 2, and number 3 on this most rushes in a game.
That
checks out.
All right. Do we know who number 4 is?
What year?
He had 39 touches in 2001 against Georgia Tech. 39 for 207.
Give me.
Probably got this guy drafted. Who you got?
Is it Musa Smith?
It is not Musa Smith.
Oh.
2001.
Has been in the Georgia news over the last 2 years, but not specifically for him.
Well, I know the name. I'm just blanking on it right now.
Has a son.
Oh, is it Vernon
It is
Haynes?
Veron Haynes.
Yeah.
Veron Haynes had 39 totes for 207. The most recent Georgia running back on this list, do we know the answer? He had 38 carries against Missouri. 38 for 143. It is indeed Nick Chubb.
It has to be the game after he became the lead back when Desmond Howard gave the famous quote, "You can't hitch your wagon to Nick Chubb." Indeed, you can.
That was also the Brendan Douglas front flip game.
Yes, it was.
Yes. Shout out Aquinas High School. All right, this one's fun. Most pass attempts in a single football game.
I know who this was against.
Who's it against?
Georgia Tech, right?
Wrong.
Oh.
That's number 2 in 2000.
Most pass attempts in a single football game. It's got to be one of these.
The answer of who the guy is really simple, in my opinion.
Aaron
And I know I'm looking at it. No. 65 attempts.
65 attempts.
65 attempts. Chat's all over it. Don't look.
Oh. Was it Eason?
No.
Eric Zier?
Eric Zier.
Yeah,
Eric Zier played in an era of Georgia football where they were throwing it 60 times a game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Eric Zier is on this list. So there's a top 10. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 game logs in one season of more than 50 attempts in a single game.
Jeez.
Dang.
I ain't gonna lie. I know they lost a lot of football games. Probably would have been fun as hell to watch in the 90s. You would have thought you were watching something crazy.
Turn back the clock.
Who they think they are? The New York Jets? You would have had some of that stuff going on. All right, most pass attempts in a season.
Stetson Bennett.
How many?
Oh, God.
Let's see. He probably averaged about 33 per game. He played 15 games. Let me do some quick math here.
Quick math.
Give me 472.
Close. Little high.
Yeah, I was going to say like 438.
454. 438 is actually the number of attempts David Green had in 2003. Finishes number 2. Boy, they must have just not thrown the ball in games in which they were winning when Eric Zier was there, because he's number 3 on this list with a multitude of games of over 50 50 pass attempts. Pretty crazy. Most career pass attempts.
Most career pass attempts?
Most career pass attempts.
It's got to be Aaron Murray.
It's Aaron Murray. Do we know the number?
Jesus. 900.
Is it
Way
in the
more.
1300s?
A little bit more.
1400s. 1456.
1478 career attempts in just 3 years of that's 4 years of starting, 10 through 13. On this list, David Green number 2, Eric Zier number 3, Matt Stafford. All right, there's a massive drop off here. You got 1400s about the bar to crack into the top 3.
Stetson had 8,268. Did he?
No, he had. You talking about attempts?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Wait. Yeah. Sorry. That's
Stetson had 900.
I was thinking of career yards. What am I doing?
Oh, we might get there. We might get there.
Where's Jake Fromm on that list? Because he's the only 3-year starter.
Jake Fromm is number 5 on this list with 982. 5 attempts behind Matthew Stafford, who's number 4 at 987 attempts.
That honestly checks out. Stafford took over midway through that 2006 season, so.
Mike Bobo makes the list, number 8.
Shout out, baby!
Shout out to the Bobo to Bozo. 755 attempts on that list. By the way, I am quoting a Georgia fan on Paul Feinbaum, which I was on, by the way. I don't know if y'all know that.
We're gonna get that nickname to stick, and it's gonna be very bad.
Unfortunately,
it's gonna fall back on us.
It's not gonna be my fault. It's gonna be Paul's fault.
We gotta stop pushing it.
I think his name was David. David from Macon is who called him that. So shout out to David from Macon. When I saw David from Macon, I was like, oh, this has got to be a South Carolina fan, right? It's like right there in the armpit up there. You're like close. You might be a troll calling in on Paul. Let's see. I got one more for you. This one's fun. Most interceptions in a game, and I think the number will absolutely blow your mind.
Most 6.
No. More.
Who the heck was doing this in a football game?
8 interceptions in 1951.
All right.
He had 35 attempts in this game.
In the 1950s?
1 out of every 7 attempts went to the opposition in the 1950s. They lost this football game 48-6.
What did he do? Throw it 10 times and throw it?
No, he threw it 35 times in 1951.
Who the hell was it? Was it
my man Zeke Bratkowski?
Oh, I've heard that name actually. That was when they were silver.
Carson Beck just surpassed him for career passing yards at Georgia, actually.
Sick. That was when they wore silver helmets, I'm pretty sure.
There's an actual sheet on here. It's like first time since. I need to find that. So ad lib for me. We can keep playing this for a couple more seconds.
I love playing trivia games.
This
so
is
much,
why
dude.
Georgia trivia it's so difficult to me because like there's just so many like a Zeke Bartowski just getting thrown out there out of nowhere.
Well, it's also like I'm not great at statistics. I can tell you what happened any game from 2012 to now, where the game was played, probably what time it was, who was the starting quarterback, all that. But like statistics wise, I'm not very strong with that.
I'm pretty good with statistics because I'm reading game logs so often.
Jay was deep in the sheets.
Whoa. All right, continue with the
The
segment.
spreadsheets of Excel, obviously, you freak.
The last time Georgia had 10 or fewer first downs in a football game. By the way, they had 11 last week at Kentucky. So
Crazy.
we're almost here.
I'm going to go, it was 2019 Kentucky.
Incorrect. 2016 would be the year here.
2016. Did they lose this game?
I think so.
Ole Miss.
No. Did they beat Florida today?
Florida, no, they lost to Florida, 24 to 10.
All right,
Only touchdown
really,
that game
I was
was
gonna
Jacob
go
Eason and Riley
2015
Ridley in the red zone.
Ooh, no way you get
Dominic
this one.
Sanders' first interception in
The
drive.
last time Georgia had 50 or fewer rushing yards in a football game.
50 or fewer rush. It had to be a game where he had a lot of sacks.
Won this game, by the way.
I'm thinking of games where the running back room was
50
depleted.
or fewer rushing yards.
You would be on the right track here. One player was not available for this football game.
So
for
I'm
family
immediately
reasons.
going DeAndre Swift years.
Incorrect. Oh, yeah, no.
Family
no,
reason.
incorrect.
Family reasons. 2020 Cincinnati.
Bingo. James Cook was out of that football
Yes.
game because his father passed away. That was the game Dale McGee wore his jersey on the sideline.
They
They
didn't
wore
have-
black. Last time they wore black.
They didn't have 50 yards in that game?
Maybe he played. You're right. He might have played.
No, James Cook didn't play.
James Cook didn't
James
play.
Cook didn't play, but I'm just surprised that they only had 50
50 or
rushing
fewer
yards.
rushing yards in that football
Boy,
game.
JT was slinging it.
Yeah, he was.
He really wasn't, though. He had like 200 total
Oh,
yards.
this one's easy. 50 or fewer passing yards in a football game. We
That's
talked about this one this week.
Stetson Bennett, isn't it?
Correct. It is Stetson Bennett. What game?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. He
Yeah.
had 35 passing yards in that football game.
Whoa.
Vomit. Absolute
What a glow
vomit.
up, man.
Won the football game.
What a glow up.
The last time Georgia scored 0 points in a football game.
Last time Georgia was shut out. It wasn't during my lifetime.
It was during my lifetime.
I mean, it's got to be the mid-90s. Probably
Correct.
against Florida, too.
Wrong.
I don't even know this. Couldn't even tell you.
Alabama, 1995.
Damn it.
Man,
I wish you didn't say that, dude.
why does that continue to just be a trend?
Give me a fantasy update here, Jonathan.
Oh, we got this was an interesting
We got a juicy one?
Yeah, this one actually came down to the wire.
This one makes me upset because
Juicy down to the wire.
I should have won this game. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I even won, but
Yeah, Kirby got the tough end of the stick because he had Jalen Walker on his squad, but Jalen Walker did not record a tackle for loss or a sack. He had 2 tackles, though, so he did get on the board for you. So
very tough.
he at least didn't put out. He didn't completely shut you out there. It was a big week for Brooks to have Etienne again. Etienne was the leading rusher, biggest producer on offense.
Almost like he should have been the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, so he got 98 points for you. And then you also had a touchdown from Branson Robinson that helps you out. Kobe Young coming in with a crisp 22 from this football game, so not too bad. Arian Smith, 15. Starks, 8 tackles. That's good for 8 points. Munden, 5 tackles. Aguero, 5 tackles. And TID, another big week for you on the defensive end. 10 points for having two tackles for loss and a sack and a few tackles added on to that. So TID becoming a steal probably for Brooks at this point. I think that was a late draft pick.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we're not done yet. We are not done yet
Daniel Bryan,
because
he's not even doing it correctly.
Yeah, that's this, right? Then you
Yes.
do this. This is Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam. Go ahead.
we're not done yet though because you had Trevor, but Kirby had Dominic Lovett, and Dominic Lovett was good for 101 points this week. Dylan Bell added on 21. Nate Frazier, not the best week to have the true freshman. Hasn't exactly cashed out since week 1. Might get to be able to work himself back into lineup some more as we push on into the season. Anthony Evans, 0 points for you, Curb. I'm sorry there. CJ Allen got you 6. Everett got you 8. Jalen Walker 2. Dan Jackson 4. Chaz Chambliss coming in with 6. It came down to the wire, but I'm sorry, Kirby. You came up just short. You had 167. Brooks had 176. A 9-point victory for Brooks. He moves on to 2-1 on the season. Kirby, 1-2.
Yeah.
So this is actually turning out to be a really, really fun, tightly contested battle.
yeah.
Except for you taking 2 losses in a row. Apart from that, it's been really, really tightly contested.
Well, it has been really tight. I mean, 2 losses in a row. It's fantasy, bro. It's not like the regular season of college football.
The part where this might...
I don't know. Somebody's 2-1, somebody's 1-2.
The part where this really might start getting out of hand is if Rod Robb comes back and starts taking touches.
Yeah.
Because that probably means Nate Frazier isn't getting any, and Brooks' choice of going with Branson, Etienne, and Rod Robb might be the ceiling factor of this fantasy season.
I'm not going to lie. I think I had a drastic advantage by the fact that I did set the scoring system and knew that running backs were going to be obviously very important.
Half
knew
a
that
point,
too, though.
half a point for carries is a little wild.
He did know
We
this.
set the standards going in.
We did.
The problem was that I banked on this offense throwing the ball a lot more, and I drafted all receivers. And then the problem was the one receiver you drafted has been a really big boom for you. Colby Young has.
Yeah. It's almost like Brooks knows ball.
It's almost like Brooks talks to sources on the regular. And
Oh, that's where we're going.
I'm not blaming that.
True allegations.
He is loaded with them.
Look, I'm not blaming that. I'm saying, look, I'll take my 2 losses, but I feel like there is slightly a handicap here.
I think the big difference is that I think Brooks got 2 steals in TID and Arian Smith.
He did.
I think he's cashed out on both of those.
Anthony Evans has kind of been a bust for me.
Yeah, that one was kind of hard to foresee. I asked if we wanted to do return yards. That was vetoed. So
Specifically for a reason.
Can we do mid-season drops and ads like it's a real fantasy league?
oh, you want the waiver wire?
We do it. Maybe we'll do waiver
Maybe
wire.
it's-
Two
If
of
this
us.
starts
And guess
getting
what?
out
I
of
ain't
hand-
dropping nobody off my roster.
If
I got
this
the
gets too
dub
out of
roster.
hand, I might open up the waiver wire.
Commissioner Jay will going to open up the waiver wire.
And just the two minions ganging up against the
Hey,
boss.
your name's on the wall. My name's on the commissioner's net.
Whoa!
My fingers are on the camera buttons, bro.
That's good for you.
I'm going to stay in 4 for a while now.
Staying for a while now.
Just hang out.
Guys, who needed this bye week more? And by the way, we do need to stretch considerably.
I need to stretch too. I'm kind of sore.
Who needed the bye week more? Speaking of being sore, Alabama or Georgia?
I felt like it was obvious that Georgia needed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a variety of reasons.
I thought about it and it was kind of like, well, Bama didn't play a 4-quarter game. Bama's game wasn't at night. Like, if you want to go on, like, basic of who's played more recently, Georgia for that reason. Georgia also showed that they have a lot of things that they need to work on and fix. Alabama definitely has that. We saw that against USF. There are some things that need to be worked on. There were some things that need to be worked on against Wisconsin. But I think the flaws that Alabama has right now are much less glaring than Georgia's were.
If this game were played tomorrow or Saturday, I think Georgia's probably still without Jordan Hall. They're probably still without Warren Brinson. Probably still without maybe Xavier McLeod, without Michael Williams, potentially. Definitely without Tate Ratledge. You play this game in 2 weeks. You get the bye. Everyone but Tate is maybe back for that football game.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, obviously, Georgia has a tremendous advantage here and needed this bye week, certainly. Bama, I'm not obviously as in depth with their roster. However, Bama's going to maybe get Quay Rousseau back in that football game because of the bye week. I don't think he would have played this week if this game were to have been played this week. So I think both of them needed it from a health standpoint. Everyone's going to tell you that. I think Georgia would have almost liked a confidence game this weekend. Like, wouldn't it have been nice to beat the shit out of South Carolina this week before you go to Tuscaloosa? Probably, from a confidence standpoint, be able to get that back up underneath you, play a really good football game, feel confident about yourself before you go into the next one. I also think Georgia has more new to study. Right? Like, Georgia is Georgia. They've kind of remained themselves from a fundamental schematical standpoint for like an extended period of time now. It's been like 3 or 4 years where they haven't changed much from a schematical standpoint. Alabama's changed everything. Their defense is different. Their fundamentals are different. How they go about offense is obviously tremendously different. How they're using their quarterback is different. So from Georgia's perspective, you needed an additional week to find out what's completely new about this Alabama roster.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing I didn't really think of. Like, on the Georgia side of this, the familiarity you have with that Alabama staff has gone out the window this season.
Yep.
Like, Kirby Smart and Nick Saban coached together. They were close. They kind of knew each other's tendencies to a degree. You have none of that this year.
To an extent, you didn't even really have to know Bama's or Saban's tendencies from a defensive standpoint because y'all were almost carbon copies of one another, of what you do. Now, I looked at Bama's tape against Wisconsin. They're 3-down odd front sometimes. They're 4 backers on the field sometimes. They're 4-2-5 sometimes. Sometimes they play 2 outside linebackers. They're a very different football team from just a personnel standpoint of how they run their bodies out onto the field, though it's similar bodies from what Bama had a year ago.
So would you think that Georgia would only be able to go off of the games that Alabama has played this year and not be able to circle back to Washington's tape, because it is a different offense. That's not what they were running with Michael Penix. And so maybe you can get some defensive stuff. I don't know. I can't remember too much about that defense, but
I still think, and granted, I don't know how much Ryan Grubb was calling plays last year at Washington, so this could be thrown out entirely.
Yeah.
But when it comes to breaking down coordinators, you're breaking down tendencies far more than you're doing anything else. So in other words, 3rd and 2, we talked about this last week. 3rd and 2, this coordinator is more prone to do this than that, right? He's more prone to run the ball than he is to pass. Or if they're in certain situations in the game, all right, 2 minute, we're probably going to get something early on in the possession. This guy likes to, like Monken would be a tunnel screen guy early. We'd be playing that early. Whereas Bobo might be tight end out in the flat type of guy early in those 2-minute drills. We're searching for those outliers and those tendencies to identify more so than we're looking at like, okay, Washington ran 3-by-1 sets, all this, or they ran these route concepts with Penix. Are they still doing that with Milroe? I think you're going to waste your time doing that. You have to look at what they're doing as a football team on tape this year, the last 3 games, and then try to find tendencies and any type of pattern, as the chat says, pattern recognition through their previous stops. I was told on the field last week that Georgia's defensive staff looked at what this Bush Hardman guy was doing at Boise State. A lot of pistol, a lot of similar route concepts, a lot of 12 personnel tight end when they needed it, under center, that type of stuff. They thought it was almost a carbon copy of what they had identified from Bush Harmon at Boise State, which I'm gonna have to go now look at where he was and when he was at Boise State. I think it was his most recent stop.
What do you think about I know the answer to this question, but I thought it was interesting because I saw some people having some conversation about it on Twitter. Kirby Smart gave the quote of, he was asked if they've started preparing for Alabama this week, and he said that they're taking this week to prepare for everything else they have in front of them. So that all the teams that are remaining on the schedule, and then like next week, that's when they're going to start preparing for Alabama. What would you do in that scenario?
This is standard ops.
No, I know it is.
And the reason being, because I've asked him about this, he feels like young people's attention spans aren't long enough to make them focus on one opponent for 2 straight weeks. That he feels as if he almost over prepares them if they were to just inundate them for 2 weeks. They'd almost lose their edge. They'd almost lose their attentiveness for that type of opponent. So what they do is, and it's not future opponents as much as it is things that we're going to see in the future that we don't see all of the time, right? So I would imagine they're practicing some stuff that Haynes King does, that run game that they don't see a ton of, right? I would imagine they're practicing wide choice from Tennessee. I would imagine they're practicing some quarterback contain for Alabama still. Things that are coming up in the future that are new, not necessarily new, but foreign to us. We don't see a lot of them. We don't get a lot of reps at them. We're going to take 3 or 4 days during the bye week to identify those things so we have a freshness to them when we get to them in a couple of weeks down the road.
Gotcha.
What's the likelihood that, because obviously this is not a Nick Saban team anymore. We've reiterated that enough. What's the likelihood that your Georgia team can go out there and just lean on a Bama team like this?
Ooh, I don't think you can lean on really anybody in the SEC anymore. I feel like eventually defensive coordinators are just going to load the box and make you throw. So I don't think that's the game plan. I have heard people say that. It was like, Trevor Etienne's our best player, so why don't we just go back to 2019 Georgia and just run it 45 times a game?
Oh my God, who said that?
My chat. Our chat in Discord.
No.
Somebody mentioned it. Would we have a better chance of winning games like this against Alabama if we went back to shortening possessions and being a grinded out football team? Make me vomit right now.
Yeah. You got an NFL quarterback on your roster and you're going to do that?
Buddy. No. Do or don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sack up. Let's go. Time to play ball.
Here's another question, and I hate to ask this, but what's the likelihood that Saban's giving you an edge if you're Alabama in this game?
Oh, I mean, he still has an advisory role. Mm-hmm. This is something somebody pointed out the other day.
It's kind of sus that he's able to go as a media member and look at all these teams.
But those are on those coaching staffs. You know what I mean? Like Florida State earlier in the year, yeah, come on out in Dublin, watch us practice. Really? That's on Norvell for not identifying, oh my God, he's an advisory role at Alabama. God forbid I play Alabama later in the year. Mm-hmm. He's going to know virtually everything that I'm teaching. Or at least I would assume Nick Saban has that type of mind
Yeah,
for football.
Absolutely.
So
I'm
yeah,
sure-
I think it's a little weird. It seems like a conflict of interest.
I'm sure Kalen DeBoer and Nick Saban have had more meetings than usual this week.
I'm sure they've had more meetings than they'd ever allude to.
Oh, absolutely. They probably talk daily.
What stuff do you give him, though?
I mean, you can give tendencies. You can give, here's what we saw that worked against them last year. Like, for as different as this Alabama team is, I think we can all agree schematically and for the most part, with the exclusion of a couple of guys roster-wise, this Georgia offense is very similar to what you had last year. Brock's not there. Obviously, Ladd's not there. But Dom Lovett was still there. The running back situation is similar to what it was last year. Trevor Etienne's a little bit more of a playmaker. You still have, Oscar Delp there, the tight end roles, stuff like that. I think that Saban can kind of give you an advantage on.
Well, if he is doing that, certainly whatever he told him about USF did not exactly help them out too much.
Bang.
That's true.
By the way, this is Courtney Morgan's job. This is what they pay this guy, I think $800,000 a year to do.
That'd be
His
nice.
job is to be this advisor to Kalen DeBoer. His job is to identify holes in our roster. His job is to identify holes in the opposition's roster. His job is to be the oversight advisor to Kalen DeBoer. And he swears by this guy. Absolutely swears by him. By the way, he's out on the recruiting trail. I saw Courtney Morgan out at the Douglas County game last week. So this is a very, very rarely do you see a general manager, first of all, in college football, something that I alluded to maybe coming to this forefront when NIL came out. It was like, oh, we're going to have salary acquisitions and salary caps. Well, we might need a general manager to kind of balance those things. And now we're going to have them all over the sport of college football. Courtney Morgan, the most famous and most highly paid one right now. But yeah, Nick Saban, the greatest of all time. If he wants to call you and give you those things, you're going to pick up the phone.
100%.
1,000%.
All right, Bulldogs balling rookie years. What do we got?
I think the favorite thing out of all the rookie Bulldogs that has come out so far came out today. I think you saw it today in the Discord. I'm sure you saw it since you're a Raiders fan. And they were doing an interview and they were talking to some, I think it's a local news station in Las Vegas. And they're like, very quiet guy, Brock Bowers is. Doesn't talk much, doesn't do anything on the football field. Might give you a first down every now and then. But the one thing that he will talk about is the dogs. And they were talking about how when Georgia played Clemson, some people in the locker room were talking smack about the dogs. Christian Wilkins was talking smack about the dogs, and Brock Bowers was not having it, apparently.
I love that this man is a robot. That the only way you can get him to shit talk,
talk about the
is to talk about
dogs.
something that he loves. Talk about them dogs. Because you damn sure wouldn't talk about no family members. So you're going to have to get him on the dogs just to get him to open his mouth. Mm-hmm. That's crazy work.
He's been a much different Brock, but not on the field, obviously. On the field, he's still Brock Bowers, but he's getting up and doing first down celebrations. He's out doing the Raiders call. Like, he's much more of a personality than I thought we would see. So it's been very exciting to see as a Georgia fan and as a Raiders fan. So.
I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that he is being pushed to the media now. Like, we said this before he got drafted. Like, there's no hiding it. Once you get to this NFL organization,
they get to walk up to you whenever they want.
Yep,
buddy.
you're going to be sitting in your locker, just go, "Hey, Brock, had a great game this last week. How do you feel about like you have to stand in front of the camera? You got to answer the questions now."
Now I will say this: eventually, those reporters will give up.
Yeah.
They will give up. The whole
he's not answering any different.
No, and he's not giving you anything. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. If he's going to answer the questions because he's a nice, politeful young man, but he's not going to give you a quote. How'd you play today, Brock? Good. Could have done better. You could have done better, right? All right, let's go write that. No, you're not writing that quote. We got to fill that in with 350 words of real authorship right now.
And I think the media are already catching on to this now because I feel like now if I'm hearing something about Brock or there's a quote about Brock, it's coming from his teammates. So I feel like the media are already picking up like, oh, if we want a good Brock quote, we don't need to ask him. We need to ask his teammates, hey, tell me about Brock. Tell me about him at practice.
Businessman.
That's what they call him, BM.
And they're going to give it, and they've given something to the media every time it's
the businessman that gives opposition or opponents a real BM.
Oh yeah,
98 yards, game 2, not bad.
No,
not bad
at all.
Have his arms gotten bigger?
Dude, he looks like Hulk.
He looks definitely a little bit bigger.
He looks bigger, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He looks bigger.
I could have sworn he was playing like 230 during his time at Georgia. I bet he's 242 right now, 245. I know he was that at the combine, but he looks swollen. He looks.
Do you think that?
Big
do you think that means Georgia wanted him to play lighter? Because you'd have to imagine if they're like, "Hey Brock, can we get you up to 240, please?" I'll do that right now.
Oh yeah. Just give me 72 hours.
Yeah, give me.
I'll be right back. Want to see me do it again?
Yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, an interesting question. Is they clearly indicates that Georgia probably had him play a little lighter. Why do you think they did that?
I would say he's playing more of a diverse role in college, but he was doing exactly that for Oakland right now too. He's playing all over the field, so I don't necessarily know. I think it may be natural progression as a human. You get heavier.
Metabolism slows down.
Well, no.
Years starting to show.
I mean, he's still not in his peak, right? You don't peak as a male athlete until like 26, 27.
It's true.
So there's still room to grow,
Terrifying.
And you run like hell at Georgia. You run so much.
Yeah, it's probably
now
hard.
that Saban's gone, there's not a program in the country that does more voluntary conditioning than the University of Georgia. Them dudes are running constantly.
Love a good voluntary practice.
Love a good drop 90 pounds from Nair Daniels in 7 months. How? Run till you puke, sir. Daily.
Yeah. How hard? It's probably hard to keep weight on in that program.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to put weight on, not keep weight on.
Put it and keep it on.
Yeah, I don't. There's a lot of defensive backs at Georgia that have struggled to put the weight on.
Yeah.
In years past, Nyland Green, most famously, in my opinion, just never got bigger, but couldn't. How could you, Coach? We're running 17 110s every day.
Is this something we should worry about with number 4?
No.
You think it's just
now you've gone too far?
I'm just asking, putting it out there.
Nah, we can do something there.
Okay.
Lots of chocolate milk.
Man, I love chocolate
PBJs.
milk,
See, overrated. The PBJ.
It's just bread.
It's too much carbs. That's what I'm saying. If we're going to do a carb, we need to do a complex carb like a potato. Ain't that right?
I agree.
Trainer, man.
I will say though, I was crushing PBJ senior year of high school.
When you were 210 playing Mike linebacker, looking like a fire hydrant.
Yeah, it was sad, dude.
I would
eat with your face painted black.
Were you a face paint guy?
I was.
Yeah.
I was the entire eyes down. It looked pretty cool, actually.
No, it didn't. I'm telling you right now. What does look cool is the thick bar, and then you take your 2 fingers and you give yourself saber teeth.
Not original enough.
Yeah, man. That shit's bad.
Not original enough.
Eye black, very overrated, especially the real stuff when it starts to sweat. Ooh.
No, I like a good sweaty eye black.
It stinks. Real eye black stinks.
I only wore it once as a baseball player, and once was enough. Didn't need it anymore.
Here's a fun thing. You'll love this. Eye black all the way around. My mouth guard was a gold grill.
Buddy, I don't like that at all.
I loved it, dude.
Honestly, it makes me question my staffing decisions sometimes.
Well, I'm here now, so.
Hey, here we are.
Want me to leave?
No, you're good, man. You're good.
But no, going back to this thing. Brock's obviously the major success story. Tyke Smith had a nice game against the Lions this weekend. Looked really good.
Tyke, I saw him after he was on the field after the Clemson win today or this year. Got to see him. That was fun. It's a good dude, man.
Yeah,
that's a guy that came to Georgia and
unfortunate circumstance.
Well, yeah, but became somebody that people looked toward to set a standard while also never really speaking. Tyke's not an extrovert.
No,
he's very
not.
inward. Whereas Bull was always the one that was always talking, right? Who's also off to a great start in the NFL. But Tyke was very much so a look at Tyke, watch what he does. He's probably doing it right.
Looked fast too.
I think we got lied to because he got so it was the foot then it was the knee then the foot, right? It was the knee then the foot, and there were inklings from insiders that he was turning out like 4.68 40s during that lead up to the final year at Georgia.
Right.
I think from July when they were running those until September, he was the most healthy he had ever been at Georgia.
Yeah, well,
and
I mean, we can also
season.
Like 2021 or 2022 Tyke Smith was not what 2023 Tyke Smith was. Like there was clearly someone who was still trying to figure out getting healthy, getting back into the speed of the game. I mean, it'd been 18 months since he had touched the field at that point. So
you went gold mouthpiece. My last year of college football, I went no mouthpiece.
I was no mouthpiece at practice, but you got to put drip on for the game.
I was no mouthpiece with the Brett Favre leather chin strap. It's still on my helmet. Got the old. This is the best chin strap ever made. Y'all got all these goofy zip up chin straps now.
Dude,
the 2-hold leather chin strap that looks like a Best chin strap ever made.
For linemen, probably.
No, period. It doesn't slide off. It doesn't slip.
Mine never slipped
And
off.
it's comfy as hell. Now, you get hit in the chin, probably going to break your chin.
Yeah, like
But who gets hit in the chin?
I got a nice scar up here from getting popped in the chin.
Oh, good football war stories right here on tonight's show.
But moving on. Kamari Lasser had a pick this Sunday. Probably should have had 2.
Definitely should have had 2. Penalty got it called back.
And then Javon Bullard, I think he's one of the higher ranked rookie safeties right now.
He was.
He's starting for the Packers. Bunch of dogs on that Green Bay Packers
Dogs
defense.
killing it in the league at the moment.
Definitely makes Sundays more enjoyable as a Georgia fan. I mean, you got plenty of stuff to watch. I mean, even older guys who haven't been in these last few draft classes, but there's Georgia football players on just about every single team that you can watch on Sundays.
Buddy, there's Georgia football players on every single team you watch on Saturdays right now, it feels like. You know what I did today?
What did you do?
Today, I went through every single recruiting class since 2020, which is not a lot. It's only like 5 that really matter, that are still on rosters and are still available in college football. Since 2020, I don't have the total numbers. I should have counted this up. 1, 2, sorry, this is really bad programming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Since the 2020 signing class, there have been 37 football players transfer out from the University of Georgia. 37 over 1, 2, 3, 4 classes.
Okay.
Sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot.
It's a good little bit.
And I want to run through these one by one, and I want to tell you what the kid's name is, what the football player's name is, where they transferred, and whether or not they've become an impact player on that football team. And what we find at the end of this little experiment, I think will be somewhat enlightening about how your roster works at the University of Georgia. So let's start with the 2020 class. Jalen Kimber transferred to Florida, played for a couple years, and is now at Penn State. He is not the starting corner. MJ Sherman transferred to Nebraska and has remained there for 3 seasons now.
Yeah, I think so.
3 seasons? No, 2. Matt Rule's been there 2 years.
Yeah.
So he's been a contributing player at Nebraska for 2 years. I don't believe he's the primary starter, though he does rotate and get a lot of playing time. Jermaine Burton transferred out of that 2020 class and was a contributing factor at Alabama. Major Burns transferred out of that class. He has been a contributing factor and still is at LSU. Justin Robinson left Georgia and has made 2 stops, one at Mississippi State and one at West Virginia. What?
I was going to say, did you see the play he made this last weekend?
Yeah, he had a touchdown catch. Yeah, he's become somewhat of a role player out there at West Virginia. Austin Blaschke is now the starting center at North Carolina after waiting at Georgia for 3 or 4 years. Chad Lindbergh's chasing a master's degree at Rice to be really, really smart and run my finances in a couple of years. Darren Branch has retired from football, not to run my finances. Cameron Kinney, offensive lineman out of Central Gwinnett, has transferred or did transfer to UCF, has been a role player and not really a primary player for them. Jared Zirkle transferred to Texas A&M out of that 2020 class. He lost the kicking battle at Texas A&M.
Tough.
So now we're on to the 2021 class. Nyland Green's at Purdue.
I don't think he's playing.
I don't think he's playing. Brock Vandergriff is obviously a contributing factor at Kentucky, as is Xavier Story at Arkansas, though still a spot player at Arkansas. Not really a primary starter for those guys, is still used in certain packages as a pass rusher. Lavoisier Carroll, our second football player that has retired from the game of football. John Jefferson is making a lot of money, not playing a lot of football at SMU right about now. Jamon Dumas Johnson, as we call him Pop around here, is a contributing factor at Kentucky. A.D. Mitchell obviously went to Texas and was a major contributing factor there. Marlon Dean, a name that a lot of people don't remember, out of Elbert County, Georgia. Marlon Dean went JUCO after hanging out as a student at Georgia for a couple semesters and is now on Utah State's roster.
Shout out
Utah State. Jackson Meeks.
Does that count as a transfer?
Yes. Jackson Meeks is at Syracuse, being a contributing factor. Marvin Jones, now onto the 2022 class. Marvin Jones is at Florida State. Jaheim Singletary is at Arkansas. Barry Alexander is at USC and is a major contributing factor, obviously. Darius Smith is at Missouri, suffered a knee injury this offseason, is not playing this year.
Sucks.
Marcus Washington Jr., a reclass football player and a legacy at the University of Georgia. Dad played with Kirby. Went to Louisville after transferring from Georgia and is now with Fran Brown at Syracuse. CJ Madden, one of the many football players that transferred to Purdue. Pretty sure he's playing a role at Purdue this year.
Yeah.
Denylon Morissette, not so much at Purdue. EJ AJ Lightsey not starting at Georgia Tech. CJ Smith hurt at Purdue. Aluba, did we find out whether or not he's playing for Maryland right now?
I have not, but I'll check right now.
We'll get context on that one. Sean Washington went JUCO and then transferred to LSU. He is playing a major contributing role at LSU. Jacob Hood hasn't played a single down in 2 years at Nebraska. Andrew Paul has gotten 5 carries for 14 yards at Jackson State this year. 7 yards at Jackson State this year. Not great. Jacksonville State, excuse me.
Aluba is starting at right guard.
Aluba, major contributing factor at Maryland. Griffin Scroggs is a role player for App State. Has not started a single game in 2 years. AJ Harris is a starting corner at Penn State. We're into the 2023 class now. Tyler Williams is playing at Minnesota. I believe he's got a few catches in that roster, or for that roster. Yazid Haynes is at Syracuse, as is Joshua Miller at Syracuse. Boys, that is 5 recruiting classes, okay, of guys that are on other rosters, 37 names, 14 of which come from the 2022 signing class. That's my first and immediate takeaway. My God, they missed on a lot of football players in 2022, or at least couldn't find ways for these guys to play. But all these guys, apart from Marvin, I would argue are misses and Bear.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like to me that would tell me that you really hit on 2021 and 2023.
Well, it's also, this is one of the biggest years they've gone in the portal, and this is the year where those 2022 guys should start, emerging into starting roles, start kind of contributing to the team on Saturdays, and it's one of the biggest years you've had to go through a portal overhaul.
So that was my first primary takeaway. 2022, oof. I mean, Marvin, no. Jaheim, well, I think Marvin would have developed into a good football player at Georgia. I do.
I don't think he's developing into one right now.
No, he's not. Jaheim Singletary, it just wasn't going to happen. Bear Alexander's a good football player. Darius Smith probably wouldn't have found a lot of playing time at Georgia, but I think he's an NFL guy. I think he's an NFL body. Marcus Washington Jr. never should have reclassified. I don't think he was ready to be in college. CJ Madden was a God, I hope this guy is a Will Anderson type of take. He went to Kennesaw State at 6'4" and a quarter, 257 pounds, ran 4.58. Georgia shit themselves thinking, we better go get this guy. Those are the same exact measurements Will Anderson had at the NFL Combine. It didn't work out for CJ Madden. Same thing for Dylan Morissette. And by the way, Morissette was just constantly dealing with things at Georgia off the field. EJ Lightsey, great story, great kid. One of these just not going to have playing time. You probably need to go find it elsewhere. CJ Smith, always banged up, couldn't find a way onto the playing field for Georgia. Aluba, buried on the depth chart at Georgia, was a very good football player. Sean Washington was I think it was an academic issue because he ended up going JUCO, not immediately transferring to an SEC school. So there was that. Jacob Hood flat out missed from day one. Andrew Paul, bad luck, bad injuries, deep room. Doesn't sound like it's going any much better. Griffin Scroggs, late take, in-state guy, was never really going to make an impact on Georgia's roster.
Yeah.
It's a lot of misses in that class. That was one of my takeaways. The other takeaway, only misses leave this roster. Except for A.D. Mitchell and Bear Alexander and Jermaine Burton.
I'd throw Pop in there, too.
You throw Pop in there? All right.
Buckets Award finalist. Helps you win Natty.
Correct. All right, so only misses and a couple of examples, 4 out of 37 that leave. Now, here's what I really want to identify here. Let's separate Pop. All 3 of those other guys that left Georgia's program either did receive major dings in the draft or they will receive major dings in the draft. A.D. Mitchell was a first-round NFL draft talent, was picked in the 3rd round, late second.
I think it was late second.
Late second. Fell like a rock because of a lot of, is this guy a concern? Bear Alexander's going to get this. Jermaine Burton 100% got this. So, just something to take away from this.
And I mean, Pop's departure wasn't because of anything that, he wasn't getting playing time. It was kind of more.
Well, he was about to.
Well, that's what I was saying. It was kind of more there was this young guy rising who was going to be taking up your playing time in a contract year where it was either come back or, go to the NFL draft and risk losing capital because it's like, hey, why was this freshman and sophomore splitting reps with you now? So
I wouldn't classify AJ Harris as a miss, considering he's playing really good football right now at Penn State.
He was here for 1 year.
But he was here for 8 months.
Yeah.
January to December. Well, I guess that's 11 months, but you get it.
Yeah, that felt like a guy that was like, well, I'm not getting playing time in year 2, so I might as well just go find playing time because I think I'm good enough. And he's proving that he is good enough.
Thinks he's a 3-and-done guy. Always did coming out of high school.
The one that's really interesting to me was Andrew Paul.
Yeah, how bad it felt.
Well,
because it looked good in the spring.
He looked really good in the spring. When it came out he was leaving, I was like, you know what? That's unfortunate. That's a casualty of
I was going to mention that to you.
The super chat question?
Yeah. Right. That's a casualty of the depth that you have at this position. I figured he would go somewhere and be really popular. It hasn't been great. Now, I don't know what Jacksonville State's offensive line looks like, but...
Yeah, but not getting carries.
Yeah.
I hate that for him. I was hoping that he was going to get to go somewhere, be the lead back, and really prove the kind of caliber of player he was showing that he was at Georgia.
I'm going through this list now and trying to identify the ones that I certainly missed on. That I was like, this dude's going to be a baller, and he flat out. Let me go through here. Ooh, I was all over Darius Smith coming out of high school. I was all over Denial Morset as well. I thought Denial Morset was going to be like a really clean, proficient pro route runner. I think Sean Washington was actually my guy because he was so big and so athletic. I hated Jacob Hood coming out of high school. Thought that was crazy that they even did it. Loved AJ Harris. It was way heavy on Tyler Williams. Shouldn't have been.
You know he didn't have on this list?
You
know he didn't have on this list?
Who?
Bretton Cox.
I was heavy on MJ Sherman. I thought MJ Sherman was going to be really
He
good.
looked incredible.
Good God. What I didn't realize he was sub 6'3" until he got to Georgia. I'm like, oh, you're not big. You're not like really, you're a muscle hamster.
Yeah, I remember him getting on special teams early on in his career, and it was like, whoa, I'm this.
Running down the field because we would sit in the student section, that end zone student section. They would run down on kickoffs, obviously, and I was like, oh my God. I can't wait for him to really start getting playing time, and it just never worked out.
I thought Justin Robinson was going to be really good. Highlight tape at Elko was phenomenal. The ball skills, the fact that he's 6'4", 210, can run like a deer, physical on special teams tape too. I thought Justin Robinson was going to be a hit. I definitely was heavy on Nyland Green. I mean, all over it. Missed that one. I thought Brock Vandagriff was going to be the second coming of Joe Burrow. That didn't exactly pan out. Was all over Darius Smith. Darius Smith had a sub 50-second 400 in high school at 6'6", 230 pounds.
Dang.
You should look that up. Will you look up Darius Smith track time or Darius Smith track video? Because, buddy, oh my God. It looks like an alien had been dropped down on the track in South Georgia and was like, hey, Timmy, watch this. Absolutely crazy stuff on that guy. Was heavy on Sean Washington, as I mentioned. But either way. All right, super chat question. What was it again?
Appling County?
Appling County.
Okay.
It was basically how much of an impact. God, I'm sorry I missed this question.
Oh, I got it written down.
All right, come on.
Hey, Brooks, is losing Tate that big of a deal, or is it overblown? Potentially a stupid question. This is from Alan Berry.
No stupid questions in this chat, including if you only could have 5 sauces on your fingers, what would they be? Tate Ratledge's impact on play is big. It's a big loss. He's a really good NFL caliber player. I think he's going to get drafted anywhere from the 3rd to 4th round coming up in the next NFL draft. But you plug in like a 4th round draft selection in Micah Morris right now. So from a drop off in level of play, I don't think it's that drastic. It's a massive leadership loss though. Dylan Fairchild's an introvert by nature. Jared Wilson's just now starting to feel comfortable playing football at this level, right? It's his 4th game starting coming up this weekend. Xavier Truss is a guy that's going to be rotating in and out of this lineup no matter what the situation is, right? There's a rotation going on at tackle. So from a fundamental leadership standpoint, this is big. This is a big loss, especially when it's something we've talked about on this network. We've talked about how the lack of natural-born leaders that seem to have made themselves known on this roster. Tate was one of those.
It's an experience loss too. I mean,
correct.
Tate's been
40 games.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace that with first round NFL talent. I mean, as great as Michael Morris could be, as great as anyone else you plug in there, the amount of games played is going to have a massive effect.
I can find the track video.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'll find it. Keep talking.
Okay.
I'm going to the bathroom.
Okay. But yeah, no, I think that's probably one of it. It hurts to lose a 1st or 2nd round player, no matter where you are. That's the great thing about Georgia football, though, is that they've prioritized building depth, and that's why Kirby Smart was so stressed out at the start of the season, because he said, I don't know if we have this kind of depth. Now, that might have been a little bit of smoke and mirrors for you, but still, It's not great. It's not ideal. You would like to have Tate Ratledge coming in this game. It's not an addition by subtraction by any means.
Yeah, and I think that Kirby Smart's point of lack of depth is definitely shown. The interior defensive line being the biggest example of this. Now, of course, when you have 3-4 guys injured from the same position, you're going to lack some depth, obviously. But I think it has shown in some areas. The offensive line now immediately thin after just losing one player, or you're a couple plays away from just being like, don't exactly know what's happening next here. So I think it definitely is shown. But what we also know about this is as the season progresses, then you only gain depth because more guys get reps. Like KJ Bolden, he's gonna be a different player than he was compared to game one.
Nostalgic tape?
Nostalgic tape.
I think we got an interesting one.
You got a good one? All right, so here's how we're doing nostalgic tape from now on. I have to go over to the board with the first play ready, and as fast as I possibly can, correctly identify who the nostalgic tape individual is.
We'll see how many plays it takes you to realize.
All right, let's go. Here we go. I'm super excited. This was up on the board last night. We didn't get into it. All right, here we go. First of all, that looks like Chris Cole. That looks like Chris Cole. It's not, though.
Oh, damn it, he guessed it.
Oh, we got a DB here? A wide receiver? Oh, man, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
This is going to be really hard.
Yeah, it was tough for me, too.
That's Matt Landers.
No, that's a good guess, though.
All right, we're on 3 plays now. You get a guess per play.
Can I get a class here?
This would have been class of 2016.
Oh, man, this is before I was covering them. I was in college getting my brains beat in right now. All right, let's keep it rolling.
All right, we're on 4.
I might be in trouble.
We're on 4 plays here.
Oh, no. Is this, he finished his career at FAU? Is this Jeremiah Holland?
No.
Nope. Next play?
I can give you a hint if you want it.
Holy shit, this dude's good. This dude's good.
Play number 5?
Give me a hint.
Think Rose Bowl season.
Is this a Ridley?
No.
Nope.
Think of the big body dude that Jake Fromm threw to during the 2017 season.
Again, bro, I am in the midst of some of my hardest drinking years of my life in 2017. I'm getting obliterated. Okay, Saturday through Tuesday.
Chat's on it.
Please help me here.
Yeah, all right. I'll give you a hint.
Okay, you go.
This was Jake Fromm's go-to 50-50
He already gave
guy.
me this one.
He wore number 6.
I'm drawing a blank. Wims.
There it is.
Wims.
Javon Wims.
Javon Wims. This dude's a freaking baller.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Was he a 5-star?
I don't believe
I don't think so.
This dude's got tape. Oh, body catcher right there. All right, so we're a good high point guy. We're body catching a little bit. Are we body catch here? No. But we crib this, don't we? Oh, my God. Oh, boo! Boo! He was the one that punched Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He was zooming, too. Good Lord.
Yeah, dude, that's good tape. Do we have another one loaded up?
We do not.
Pull me another one up. I want to come up. This is fun. This is a fun game. I like this.
Text me one.
Give me another one right now,
one.
and we'll go over there and do that. Javon Wims, man, I would have never got
I didn't expect the tape to be that good.
How early did the chat get it?
They got it after about probably 3 plays.
Oh, wow. They're better than me. But can you do me a favor? Can you give me somebody that I maybe either
2019
covered or was close
on.
to cover? No. You can do just on the 19 roster. You know what I mean? Yeah. But they could be, 17 commits as long as they were on the 19 roster. I might be able to identify. I'm a body composition guy. I'm a body movements guy.
What would you have rated Javon coming out of high school?
Oh, that would have been just the high point on that would have been all over it. What would have scared me was the long speed. He didn't pull away from anybody in that tape.
That one
He even ran out of bounds.
Yeah.
Boo.
And he never really did that at Georgia. It was just still
Not yet. I'm pulling
Still waiting for a text from Kirby. He was that wide receiver unit, that Rose Bowl year.
Switch the camera.
They blocked better than any wide receiver unit Georgia's had since. Those dudes got after it. Now they had to, because it was Sony and it was Nick Chubb and it was if you don't block,
you ain't playing.
they gonna kill your ass type vibes. But those dudes down full blocking, especially Ridley. I felt like when I went back and rewatched that Rose Bowl tape, I would find Riley Ridley 60 yards downfield putting dudes in the sideline.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think people really forget about that wide receiver class. Everyone always talks about, we need these high 0.5 stars and all those things. We needed George Pickens. And yeah, George Pickens kind of blocked. He would love to shove the DB down, but that blocking core in 2016 was probably one of your better wide receiver cores when it came to blocking, at least. So
tremendous 50-50 guys too.
Yeah.
That whole room was like, except for the youngest Ridley, I felt like they were all like 6'1", 210.
Yeah. And I mean, Riley's exploded in the national championship game. Like, that was his breakout game. So
get me past the intros over there. Make sure I'm not tipped off.
Doing that.
Don't want you to.
Don't cheat in here.
No, I haven't seen this tape, so I don't know if it's any good.
And I will say, there's not a season-long tape, so this is the longest single-game tape. All right, it's ready.
Okay. All right, here we go. Let's take it to the board. Let's play a little game of nostalgic Who's That tape. This looks like Metro Atlanta already. This looks like DeKalb County. All right, let's take a look. That's the big field in DeKalb, I'm pretty sure. Ugh.
Didn't like that?
I don't like the body. I don't like what I'm seeing already. Oh, this is a big defensive lineman. Is this Devontae Wyatt?
It is Devontae Wyatt. That's impressive.
This is Devontae Wyatt. Holy shit, he developed.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's no twitch on this tape.
No.
None.
This dude
ran 4.71 at the NFL Combine.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, that was 2 plays?
Yeah.
That was 1 play. I watched him come off the ball.
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. All right, that's a dub. The DeKalb County got me.
Yeah.
That's what tipped it off for me. So thank you for picking this field.
Yeah, Javon Wims was a Florida guy, so that's probably a little harder for you to recognize.
You know what DSD stands for?
I'm not going to.
DeKalb County School Department.
I was going to make a joke, but
most of the DeKalb County schools play in the stadium. Cedar Grove plays in the stadium. Southwest DeKalb, I believe, plays in the stadium. I've seen Douglas play in this stadium before. A lot of Southeast Atlanta teams play in this.
According to chat, he was 14 in this tape.
Running back? He's 14 years old in this tape?
According to chat. I can't confirm that, but...
So no wonder there's no season-long tape. That dude committed to Georgia. Was like, I'm good.
That dude had to go JUCO. I think he's the only one I've seen in years past where it was like, hey, go JUCO, we'll get you back when you come back out. They haven't done this since Kirby's been there.
Yeah.
A lot.
Mm-hmm. Nah.
I think they might be getting back in the mix with guys like Seven Cloud. There was a guy out of Macon that was committed to South Carolina that they were heavily interested in that's been playing JUCO ball lately. They just I'm going to get that name for you. Xavion Hardy. Immediately. God, I love what I do. Xavier Hardy, I think they're going to get back in the mix there. It's one of those JUCO bodies that they're trying to get, because they need interior defensive linemen. Xavion's grown a lot. In high school, Xavion was like 6'3.5", 245. They've got measurements on him now at 6'5", 265. He's turned into a big,
he was 15
man.
In that tape.
15 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an NFL dude. That's an NFL dude right there.
So it makes sense as to why he didn't look great body-wise.
But holy smokes, the development, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Still, that's 15 to 22.
Yeah.
All right. I'm good. You good?
Yes.
Can't wait to actually have stuff to talk about next week.
I thought there was something important to talk about before we close this night show. Oh, I know what I want to do. Last night, when we closed the broadcast, I was begging y'all, can we get over 27.3 thousand subscribers? I just want to let everybody know right now, we're at 27.6. So get us to 30,000 before the end of the week. That's your goal.
Shout out to Better.
Shout out to Better. Shout out to you guys for listening. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out of LA.